I always wanted to serve on a jury.
I'm really super excited to be here, so I really appreciate having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Creating this whole trial daddy.
I want to give a big shout out to 13 Jury Podcast and Brandi.
Yeah, I applaud you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Every time you run into the farmer, you should reach for it. And then I just looked to the jury, and it's sort of like, look.
I was in the eye of the storm, and you guys were watching the storm.
Hey, before work, come pop in and say, hey, what's up?
You are a ray of sunshine, and I love what you've done with your YouTube channel.
Good morning. Good morning. Get down. Good morning. Say hi to your friends. Say hi to your friends. Say hi. She's up here on my desk now. This is like her favorite spot. Good morning. Good morning. I'm out of breath because I just forgot to do some stuff and I had to run over there to the other side of the room. Good morning. Good morning. Anna Kay, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for all your hard work, especially when you should be resting. Hope this helps a little. It does. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Good morning. Good morning. I am happy to see y'all. I almost overslept. And by almost, I mean I did overslept. I just crawled out of bed. I went to dinner with a friend last night and got home. I was in bed by 8. So I have no good excuse for oversleeping, but I did anyway. I guess I needed sleep. So I'm running a little bit late this morning. I was planning on starting at 10 my time, but it's actually about 10:15. But you know, we're here. We're here. So good morning. We are going to do. I can go until about 1 o'clock. So we got a little less than 3 hours. I have an appointment that I have to be at 1:30. So, nothing bad. Actually, a fun appointment. I'm getting to go see one of my girlfriends that I haven't got to see in a while, and we're gonna get a pedicure. I haven't had a pedicure. I can't even tell you how long, but I have a gift card that I've gotten and haven't used for Christmas, and I'm excited. Haven't done it in a while, so look at me being all relaxing today. Natalie O, get to the membership. Natalie O, get to the membership too. Susie Campbell, welcome to the green side. Natalie O has brought you over to the green side. Thank you so much, Natalie O. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Go Chiefs. Has taken the seat. Go Chiefs. I wonder who you're cheering for tomorrow. Let's see. I'm eating my hair. Mary, member for 6 whole months. 6 whole months. Happy anniversary. Speaking of anniversaries, do you know, I just posted this on Twitter, but today, 1 year ago today, pull my hair up. It's driving me crazy. I don't have a hair tie. Dang it. 1 year ago today is when I did my very first ever tweet. And that's how we're here. It all happened from there. A year ago today, my very first ever tweet about Alex Murdoch with the chart, and it all of this has happened from that. Isn't that crazy? Crazy how life works. Crazy how life works. Pillowless Mom, gift cake 2024. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. Holly Mack gifted 5 memberships. Oh, I love gifted memberships. Let's see. Inez, TLC is me, Abe, Susan, DRW, and Nani Mac were all gifted memberships by Holly Mack. Holly Mack, thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, I appreciate it. You're the best. All right. Y'all ready to get this show on the road? Fur Baby's mom gifted a membership too. Let's see. Fur Baby's mom gifted a membership. For everybody's mom, you did see that video I did, right? Of Lucy going crazy over those treats you sent. She acted like a little psycho. Let's see. For everybody's mom, get to the membership too. Constant Creek Freedom. Constant Creek Freedom, welcome to the green side. Thank you so much for our baby's mom. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let's see. Let me... Oh. This... Not screen catcher window. Oh, I have to... Goodness gracious. There we go. There we go. You can tell I'm still waking up. It's okay. It's okay. I gotta get... I get... If it's not lined up, then I can't pay attention. It has to be lined up. So, and I'm not good at like having it automatically do that yet. I have to adjust it every time. There we go. Okay. Isn't that a weird thing to be obsessive about? But I can't focus if the screen is not lined up. I know, I'm weird. I know. Oh, I missed some stuff while I was being obsessive. Patty Poo, member for 6 whole months. Good morning, everyone. Love it here. Patty Poo, we are glad to have you. Why can't I show it? Oh, there it goes. Okay. Patty Poo, member for 6 whole months. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Natalie O, member for 7 whole months. Good to see you all. Happy I found you, Brandi. I'm happy you found us too. Happy 7-month anniversary to you. Thank you. Mary. Hey, Mary. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you see the little, is that like a little avocado dancing or a pear? What is that dancing? Thank you. Thanks for being you. That's so cute. It looks like an avocado or a pear. I don't know. I don't have my old lady glasses on. That's cute. Thank you. Tina, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Brandi and everyone. I've missed it here. I've missed y'all too. It's hard for me not seeing y'all as much during the week. It's really hard. Next week will be a little bit different. I'm doing my tough day on Monday. So I may not do, and we don't have court Monday. So depending on how Tuesday goes, I may miss Tuesday, depending on how I feel. But then the rest of the week, next week, we should be able to do it. So next week will be a little bit different, and hopefully I'll be able to see y'all a little bit more. So we'll see how it goes. Evangeline Light gifted 5 memberships. Stacy S, Andrea Merchant, Julie F, Katie T3749, and Nina Canadian were all gifted memberships by Evangeline Light. Thank you so much, Evangeline. I appreciate it. It is very generous of you. Thank you. Our very own mod, Dinado420, gifted a membership. And it went to, oh, everything just moved. Oh, come back. Mrs. C was gifted a membership by Dinado420. So thank you, Dinado420. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. I am glad to see y'all. All right. Y'all ready to get this show on the road and see? Oh, gosh. It just now hit me that we're going to be listening to Shoehorn.
Council stipulate, please.
Yes, Judge. Yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
We continue with the state case.
Good morning, Mr. Committee. Good morning.
Oh, we got the good thing about
Mr. Committee, where we left off yesterday.
The good thing about doing this a little bit later than normal is that we actually get to have CC on.
You had given the
I know
seats
some of y'all like that.
that were in your Tacoma Ford Focus seats to Sergeant Al Bisson. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes.
I want to show you some photographs if I could. Judge, I have a disc here, which has been pre-marked for identification as State's Exhibit 126. I provided a copy to Attorney Schoenhorn, and I believe he does not have an objection, so I will formally move this disc into evidence. That's correct.
Thank you. 126 admitted as full. State's 126.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad y'all are here. It really is a highlight of my week getting to do this with y'all. Okay, so remember,
Judge, within states
how well is the
126, there's a
Tacoma
folder
owner?
entitled Toyota Tacoma. And there's a photograph entitled 335 Tacoma seats. Mr. Gumeni, do you see what's shown in that particular image?
Yes.
And can you just tell the jury what's shown in this image?
Those are those two seats that I removed from my Toyota Tacoma.
And can you indicate for the jury there appear to be two seats within the image? Can you indicate for the jury which one was the driver's seat and which one was the passenger seat? If you have to stand up, that's fine.
So these are the seats he took out.
Do you have pictures from behind?
We can get them for you, yes, but not currently.
No. I mean, the only way I could tell,
Well, I'm going to object as non-responsive, Your Honor.
well, the last comment from the state was, we can get them, but right now we cannot get those other photos. And the witness was about to say the only way he could tell, and it may be that the witness was about to say the only way he could tell is if there's another angle or another photo showing a different angle. So the objection is overruled.
You can finish your answer, Mr. Gumeni.
I can tell by where the seatbelt attachment is on which side of the seat. They're always on the center console side. So if you have a picture from a little different angle.
All right, we'll see what we can do. Now, your recollection, though, was that you believe you took the cover off the driver's seat. Is that correct? And if we could just X out of this photo and pull up the other photograph within this folder. Mr. Gumeni, what is that?
That looks like my 2001 Tacoma.
And how do you know it's your 2001 Tacoma?
The color, the type of the truck, and the most noticeable thing is the snowplow one.
And I'm just going to ask if you could stand up.
Okay, I know it's been a while. We haven't been together since Tuesday. But remember when we left off, he had given the seats that there was the whole Tacoma seat debacle where he had the Ford seats in there, like that's what he had in there from the time he got the truck. He had put those in there, and then Fotis told him to get rid of those seats, and he thought that was really fishy, so he ended up putting the Porsche seats from Fotis's old Porsche that was wrecked in there. And when police came and talked to him, Fotis told him to get rid of the seats that were in his truck so that nobody could ever find him, but he didn't. He kept them because he knew it was fishy, and he gave them to police.
Just show the jury the snowplow mount that you speak of. Okay, so I just want the record to reflect, Mr. Gumeni, you just, with your left index finger, pointed to an area just below the license plate in the photograph, and your finger went from right to left along the center of the photograph underneath. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that snowplow is how they were able to
that particular item to the right of the license plate in this photo. What is that?
That's
identify his truck.
They control the plow.
Did your Toyota Tacoma also have chrome running boards?
Yes.
And where were they located on the vehicle?
Underneath the driver and passenger side doors.
Mr. Gumeni, you mentioned yesterday on direct examination that you went with Mr. Dulos to 80 Mountain Spring Road as he was driving your Tacoma there. Is that correct?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that you don't recall the exact date of that?
Yes.
How many times did you do that with Mr. Dulos?
Just one.
Judge, I'm going to ask that we pull up in the photograph, or in the folder entitled States Exhibit 81. There's a photograph, 77 Mountain Spring Road, surveillance, 5/23/19. And within there is a clip entitled 23/4:57 p.m. Just going to ask if we can play that. And Mr. Gumeni, can you look at the clip behind you?
So that's the that neighbor's camera that we've seen. So now it looks like they're making him identify his truck.
Mr. Gumeni, did you recognize any of the vehicles in that clip?
Yes, this is my Tacoma and Dulos is Ford Raptor.
And who was driving the Tacoma in this footage?
Fotis Dulos.
And who was driving the Raptor?
I did.
And where did the two of you go?
To 80 Mountain Spring Road.
And just so the record is clear, both vehicles make a left off of Mountain Spring Road into the driveway of 80 Mountain Spring Road. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I believe you indicated that Mr. Dulos backed in to 80 Mountain Spring Road.
He pulled in and turned around, so the truck was ready to leave.
How long were you at 80 Mountain Spring Road for with Mr. Dulos during that trip?
We left the truck and we went back to leave.
And Judge, I should have indicated this, but the record should reflect that the timestamp on this video is a day and 10 minutes fast. So this is actually May 23rd, 2019 at 4:57 p.m. and 34 seconds.
Thank you.
So I'd like to play another clip for you if I could. And just for the record, the clip is in that same folder entitled 23:501 p.m. 77 MSR. I'm just going to ask that you watch that clip.
Okay, we know that he's just identifying that it is his truck. I know this is for the record. It's not anything that's new to us, so I'm going to skip forward a little bit.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, if I could just have one moment.
So this is what is it, Merritt
Mr.
Parkway, or
Gumini, were you driving your Toyota Tacoma on the morning of May 24th, 2019?
No.
As far as you knew, where was your Toyota Tacoma located?
At 80 Mountain Spring Road.
Now, I want you to just look at this photograph behind you. Does this vehicle appear to be consistent with your Toyota Tacoma?
Yes, the crawling boards look like
in the bed.
Okay, again, he's identifying this. We already know because they've gone over it, how we know it's the truck, so I'm going to skip forward a little bit.
It's across the street from Yukon.
What vehicle were you driving when you stopped at the gas station?
Ford Raptor.
And how did you pay for the gas?
With American Express.
Whose American Express card?
It belonged to Ford, but it was under my name.
And so, because this was a business expense, did you hang on to the receipt?
Yes.
Good morning, those of y'all coming in. Hello, hello.
That's fine. And I'm displaying within States Exhibit 126, there is a image entitled Babu Mobile Receipt 52419. Mr. Gumeni, is this a photograph of the receipt that you got from the mobile gas station on May 24th, 2019?
Yes.
And could you indicate for the jury how many gallons were purchased?
It looks like 22.6.
And is that more gallons than the Toyota Tacoma can take?
Yes, Toyota Tacoma dry empty tank won't take more than 17 gallons, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so again, they're proving that he was not driving the Tacoma, which is important based on what the
You testified yesterday on direct
defense is trying
examination that
to
after
say.
getting to Fort Jefferson Crossing in the afternoon on the 24th, you went to 585 Deer Cliff to pick up a 2x10 plank for your dirt bike before you went to 80 Mountain. Do you recall that?
Yes.
I have here what has been pre-marked for identification as States Exhibit 125. This is a still shot from residential surveillance footage, Your Honor. I showed it to Attorney Schoenhorn. No objection? No objection. I move it in, Your Honor.
State 125 admitted as full.
Mr. Gumini, I'm just going to ask that you look at this photograph. The timestamp indicates May 25th, 2019 at 5:08 and 54 seconds p.m. The actual time is May 24th, 2019 at 4:58 and 54 seconds p.m. And I'm just going to ask if you can look at this still shot and tell us what you see in the still shot with respect to any vehicles.
It looks like a Ford Raptor that I was driving that day, with looks like a 2x10 sticking out of back cargo area.
And Judge, because of the small nature of this photograph, is it all right if I publish this to the jury by just passing it around?
Yeah.
And just for the record, Mr. Gumini, can you point out where the object is, the plank?
It's right on the back of the truck.
So he had the 2x10 in there because he was taking his dirt bike home for the weekend. So that 2x10 came from the house on Deer Cliff, which is like the overgrown house they kind of use for storage and stuff. So this is more of the back and forth video surveillance. I'm going to kind of skip through this because, again, this is stuff that we've been
I just
through.
wanted to load
He's
the
just
door back
confirming
on the
it.
back of the, try to load the door back on the back of, thought of stopping by 80 Mountain Spring to see if the keys in my truck or Dulos might be there.
I'm going to show some additional residential surveillance footage at this time. Within States Exhibit 126, there's a folder entitled States Exhibit 81. And we're going to open the folder entitled 77 Mountain Spring Road Surveillance Footage 52419. And we're going to begin with the first clip, which is 16:58 p.m.
It does kind of feel like,
Yes, you turn around
like
just-
for Fotis, But the thing is, it feels like a trial for Fotis, but I do understand that they have to prove to the jury that Fotis did this in order to prove that Michelle was conspiring with him to do this. So I get it, but it is extensive.
Watch this clip.
Danny, don't give to another membership. Let's see. Thank you, Danny, 420.
Mr. Committee, what was shown in that clip?
It looks like me driving the Raptor to 80 Mountain Spring Road.
Let's get to membership. Dr. Bullbutter.
And approximately how long were you at 80 Mountain Spring Road the first time when you walked around the property with Mr. Dulos?
Happy anniversary.
Can't recall exactly. I want to say around 10 minutes.
And as you were leaving, did Mr. Dulos and the defendant leave also?
I'm assuming. I don't remember seeing them in the mirror following me on the road.
And do you know what vehicles they were driving?
There was white Jeep Cherokee and black Suburban.
I'm just going to play another clip. The next clip is entitled 24/17:02 p.m.
Okay, again, he's just verifying. These are all those back and forth, and when we finish,
left on the screen, is that correct?
Yes.
I have all of that mapped out to where it's easier to understand, where you're not just looking at one clip at a time. I have it kind of mapped out, so we'll take a look at that after all of this. But this is just stuff that we've already seen that they're just having him confirm.
Is that headed back towards 4 Jefferson Crossing and 585 Deer Cliff Road?
That's correct.
This is part of why this trial moves so slow and why it's better to speed trial, because they go over and over and over the same stuff again.
And if we can open up the folder entitled Photos of 80 Mountain Spring Road, and specifically the second file, the 80 Mountain Spring Road aerial view. Mr. Committee, I'm just going to ask that you look at this aerial view photograph and tell me if you recognize the area.
Yes, I do.
And can you tell the jury what area this is?
Property to the right of the main road, it's 80 Mountain Spring Road. And
sorry, go ahead.
The property to the left, it's 77 Mountain Spring Road.
And can you just stand up and indicate to the jury, when you first encountered Mr. Dulos and the defendant on this property on May 24, 2019, where you drove and where everybody was? Can you just stand up and show them?
So I came down this road and I drove in here and I worked with someplace.
Okay, so I just want the record to reflect that your right index finger...
I'm sorry, could Mr. McGinnis stand so I'm able to see? He's blocking my view, please.
I just want the record to reflect that your right index finger went down on the photograph on 80 Mountain Spring Road until you reached the driveway of 80 Mountain Spring Road, and then you took your index finger and you brought it up the driveway. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you just point out to the jury where the vehicles were parked in this particular photograph?
The other car was parked somewhere around here.
And you're indicating with your right pinky finger the area located behind the house that appears to be a driveway. Is that correct?
Yes.
Approximately how far from the road is this particular area that you just pointed to?
I want to say 300 feet.
If you're standing on the road, can you see the back of the house?
The back of the garage?
Yeah, the back of the garages. If you're standing in front of 80 Mountain Spring Road, can you see the back?
No.
You cannot, correct?
No.
Thank you, sir. And just going to pull up the next photograph in that folder, entitled 80 Mountain Spring Road Garage View.
It's a beautiful house.
Mr. Committee, could you just indicate for the jury while you're standing there, perhaps where the vehicles were parked if they're shown in this photograph, and where Mr. Dulos and the defendant were standing when you first arrived?
So the other car was parked somewhere in here?
And you're making a circular motion with your right pinky finger in the bottom right-hand corner of the photograph, correct?
Yes. The Raptor was parked somewhere in here.
You're making a circular motion in the right center of the photograph, is that correct?
Yes.
At the bottom?
Victoria X, thank you so much.
I believe the Chevy Suburban was parked here and then the Jeep was.
Okay, so you're indicating that the Chevy Suburban was parked in front of the center bay of the garage, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and where was the Jeep parked?
It was kind of like turning behind the home.
Thank you, sir. You can have a seat. Now, I believe you indicated that at some point you and Mr. Dulos returned to 80 Mountain Spring Road, is that correct?
Yes.
Which vehicle did you return in?
In the Raptor.
I'm just going to play some additional residential surveillance footage from folder states 81, subfolder 52419, and I think that's it. Playing 17:14 p.m.
It's weird that there was,
So again, I've neglected to do this a couple times, but again, the timestamp is a day and 10 minutes fast. Mr. Committee, what
Interesting.
was shown in that particular clip?
It looks like me
There
and
were
Dulos
so many back and forth.
driving back to 8 months.
And I believe you indicated that this is when you were told by Mr. Dulos that the defendant had the keys to your Tacoma, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated that the defendant returned to 80 Mountain Spring Road?
Correct.
Do you recall which vehicle she returned in?
Can you repeat that?
Do you recall which vehicle she returned in?
Your Honor, this has all been asked and answered yesterday.
It's foundational for the clip that I'm going to play, Judge.
Well, quite frankly, the routes taken between 4 Jefferson Crossing, 80 Mountain Spring Road, 585 Deerfield are not easy to remember. So even if those routes were mentioned yesterday, the court is going to allow it.
So my question was, do you recall which vehicle she arrived in?
I don't.
I'm just going to play the next clip, which is a clip entitled 77 MSR 52419, 523, 50 seconds PM through 524 and 13 seconds PM. Mr. Gumini, did you recognize any vehicles in that clip?
Yes, it looks like black Suburban
How do you know that?
that belongs to Dulos. I recognize the total box on top of the car.
Does that refresh your memory at all as to what vehicle she arrived in?
It must be that, but I didn't see her driving it.
And I'm just going to play a clip now. All three of you then left the property again, is that correct?
Yes.
And this is 77 MSR 52419, 53700 through 53815.
So she broke, or she drove the Suburban back there. And remember, Fotis said, "Oh, don't tell her that, or don't mention to the police that she had the key. Let's just leave her out of it." Oh, hello, we have a raid. Hi, Broken Baker. Welcome.
Mr. Gumini, can you just tell us what was shown in that clip?
It looks like the black Suburban left the property, followed by red Tacoma and black Raptor.
Who was driving the Tacoma at this point?
I did.
You also testified yesterday that at a certain point you loaded your dirt bike onto the bed of your Tacoma, is that correct?
Yes.
And where did you do that?
At 585 Deerfield.
Okay, I'm gonna skip forward a little bit on
States
this
Exhibit
because remember, this is all stuff that he's been over before. Now they're just showing the clips because he's already said that this happened. Now they're showing the clips of it and he's verifying it. But I don't want to spend a lot of time going back over all of this stuff again. He wanted his dirt bike, so he when they left here and Michelle brought him the key to his Tacoma that she shouldn't have taken in the first place. That's when Fotis was like, "Oh, well, don't worry about it then. Just leave the Tacoma and take the Raptor." And he said no, he wanted to take his dirt bike. So he wasn't going to take the Raptor. His dirt bike wouldn't fit in the back of the Raptor. So they went to Deercliff. He had the dirt bike was at Fotis's house. So he wanted to go to Fotis's house to get the dirt bike cranked and going and then drive the dirt bike to his Tacoma, which he had then taken to Deercliff, which is the storage type house, and loaded up. So now they're just showing all of the different camera footage from all of this. So these are all things that we already know. They're just going over them again.
As full.
Mr. Gumini, do you recall being asked questions in August of 2019 about the bicycle that Mr. Dulos owned?
Yes.
And do you recall being shown photographs of the garage at 4 Jefferson Crossing that were taken after May 24th, 2019?
I believe so, yes.
I'm just going to hand you what's been entered into evidence as States Exhibit 127 and ask that you just familiarize yourself with that. Where would Mr. You had mentioned that Mr. Dulos had an older French model bicycle, correct?
Yes.
Where would he ordinarily keep that bicycle?
I remember it was hanging on one of the hooks in the garage. I'm not sure which one was it.
Do you see it in this photo?
Could it be the one up on the top?
Do you remember being shown this photograph previously and indicating it was not in the photo?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
You've previously been shown that photograph by police, correct?
Yes.
And did you tell them that the bicycle, the French model bicycle, was not in that particular photograph?
Yes.
That French model bicycle with the ram horn handlebars.
Just gonna publish this.
Oh my gosh, they're so slow.
You know, Judge.
They're having technical difficulties. All right, here we go. Cross-examination. Shoehorns up. Oh, the thing about the bike, though, they weren't able to show the picture, but the thing about the bike is that he says it's usually kept in the garage at Fotis's house on like one of the bike cook type things. But on the day that Jennifer disappeared, the bike was not hung up in the garage. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, shoehorn. Everybody take a deep breath. Shoehorns up.
Let's begin with what was talked about yesterday.
Oh, great.
You were given in December of this past year, so like a month and a half ago, written immunity from prosecution, correct?
Yep.
And this was something that was negotiated between you, your lawyer, and the current state's attorney, correct?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
You were involved in the decision to give you immunity, correct?
Yes.
You understand that immunity means you can't be prosecuted for anything that you did which might have been a crime, correct?
Yes.
And it was signed, this exhibit 124, which was entered yesterday, was signed by the state's attorney for this judicial district, correct?
Yes.
But you also were under the understanding that there was, as it says here, a verbal, oral immunity that was given to you by the former state's attorney, correct?
Yes.
And it says right here that your lawyer, that's Lindy Urzo, correct? Right?
Correct.
Informed the state's attorney's office of his belief that Pavel Gumieni had relied on representations made on or about June 2019 by Richard Colangelo Jr., then state's attorney for the Judicial District of Stamford, Norwalk, that Pavel Gumieni may not be charged with the crime of hindering prosecution if he cooperated with the investigation and prosecution of others in connection with the disappearance, etc., of Jennifer Dulos, correct?
Correct.
And that was your understanding when you were talking to the police in June of 2019, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. What I just read to you was your understanding back in June of 2019, correct?
Well, I'm going to object, Your Honor. I think we need a tighter time frame than just June of 2019.
That's all it says is June 2019. How can it be more time specific than that?
Well, the question that would appear to be the most clear is, at the time you entered into the, or were told that you would be granted immunity, what was your understanding? That would appear to be the clearer question, but you may ask your question again.
Sure. I just read you what was in this agreement issued by the state's attorney, correct?
Correct.
And was it that your understanding when you were talking to the police back in June of 2019?
Yeah, it was just not written down. So when I spoke with my attorney, he told me it's a verbal agreement. It's not nothing.
Nothing in writing.
Nothing in writing. So it could be.
But you were told that that would count. It's verbal, though, right?
Yes.
When you yesterday testified about comments that you recall hearing from my client, Michelle Troconis, one after the disappearance and one before, the first time you mentioned that to the state's attorney's office was in January of 2024, correct?
Correct.
That was after the written grant of immunity had been given to you, correct?
Correct.
Now, did this revelation about these conversations didn't suddenly come to you, did they, in around Christmas of this year, this past Christmas? They didn't just suddenly come to your mind that you had forgotten to mention it, did you?
Compound, argumentative.
Well, this is cross-examination. So the question is, essentially...
I'll rephrase it, Your Honor. So this didn't just come to you after close to 5 years, did it?
It did.
You hadn't remembered it for almost 5 years and then remembered it after this agreement was granted in December, correct?
I met with the prosecutors sometimes around that time, and they asked me if there's anything else that comes to your memory.
Yeah. And you didn't tell them it then, did you?
No, I didn't.
No. You got a call after your lawyer called the state's attorney's office to tell them, oh, you had something you wanted to add. Isn't that correct? Right after the New Year's?
I don't recall if it was right after the New Year's, but yes.
January 4th? Does that sound about right?
Yes.
And as I understand your statement, and I want to get this correct, you didn't give this most recent statement recorded, right? They didn't videotape that or audio tape it, did they?
No.
You didn't give it to them in writing either, did you?
I don't believe so, no.
But as I understand your statement, let's talk about the statement after Jennifer Dulos' disappearance. This conversation occurred on the Tuesday after the first day back to work, correct?
Yes.
And this would be the same day that Mr. Dulos was trying to get you to write out where you were on that Friday, correct?
Correct.
And at some point, as I understand your testimony yesterday, you said that Ms. Troconis was looking for a wheelbarrow to move firewood, correct?
Correct.
So I just want to be clear. Had you helped her move firewood before to the porch, to the house?
I don't recall it.
You know that they would use the fireplace, correct?
Yes.
And that there was firewood that would be stacked up on that outside back porch?
I don't recall it.
But you said that you were taking firewood from a shed?
Yes.
Right. Did you ever help gather any of that firewood?
That was the first time I helped Michelle.
The first time you helped Michelle, but had you helped put firewood in that shed before?
In the shed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that was the firewood that was used in the fireplace in the house, correct?
I believe so.
And this would be while you were getting the wheelbarrow or while you were getting the firewood that you had this conversation?
What do you mean by this?
The one about after the disappearance where you testified yesterday about the firewood and the wheelbarrow. Was it getting the firewood itself or just getting the wheelbarrow to put firewood in?
This is that conversation where he says that they were getting the firewood and the wheelbarrow and all that when Michelle said something about Jennifer disappearing, and she said she's going to kill that effing bee when she comes back or something like that.
He was getting the firewood from the woodshed and putting it on the back porch.
And she was with you at this point, right?
Yes.
And you testified she was upset, correct? She was very upset, right?
Yes.
And she was telling you that her face and her daughter's face was all over the internet, correct?
Correct.
Her daughter was 12 years old at the time, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And there they were being connected to the disappearance of Mrs. Dulos, correct?
Correct.
By all this internet stuff, correct?
Correct.
And she was upset about that,
By their
right?
behavior, but okay.
Right?
Yes.
And you knew there was a lot of publicity about this, right?
Yes.
In fact, you had searched a lot of it online over the weekend, correct?
Correct.
You told the police you had been looking at all the news stories about it, right?
I don't recall telling him, but...
But you at least tell us today you did search and see all these stories about it, right? And trying to connect, at that point, Fotis Dulos to the disappearance, right?
At that point, no.
Well, it was mentioning him about the divorce and everything, wasn't it?
Wait, I object to the question. I thought he was asking Mr. Gumini whether or not Mr. Gumini was trying to make a connection. Is he talking about
The court understands the question to be, what did you read from those news reports?
Yes.
I don't recall it at that time. Over that weekend, what was on the news already.
The point being that both Mr. Dulos' name and my client's name were being connected to stories about the disappearance, correct?
Possible.
And she was upset about the fact, particularly, that her daughter was being blasted on the social media and the internet, correct?
I didn't see her daughter on the media, but that's what she said, yes.
Okay. And what she said to you was, you told this to the inspectors last month, was that she is, that, let's put the profanity aside for a minute, but referring to Ms. Dulos, that she was playing games, right?
Yes.
Right? She said she is playing games, right? Her picture and my picture are on the internet, right?
Yes.
And then she said, I'm going to kill that bee when she turns up. Isn't that what she said to you?
That effing
And you thought the same thing at that time, didn't you?
I'm just going to object, Your Honor, relevance.
Well, the question is a bit confusing. You thought the same thing about what?
I'll rephrase. You thought she might turn up, Ms. Dulos, didn't you, at that point?
Yes.
Okay, I want to stop right here. Him saying I thought she was going to turn up, because you don't, when stuff like this happens and it's all new, how I don't think that it's normal for you to automatically be like, oh yeah, she's dead. She's totally dead. You always, I think, instinctively think or hope or believe or, you know, whatever, that like, okay, there's got to be some explanation. This couldn't actually be this bad. So him saying, what Shoehorn's trying to do is have Pavel say, oh, well, you thought she was going to turn up too, as a way to make Michelle not seem so guilty for saying, oh, she's just playing games. First of all, thinking she's going to turn back up and saying she's just playing games and I'm going to kill her when she gets back are two very, very different things.
You believe Mr. Dulos when he had said that, you know, she may have just disappeared and run away, correct?
Yes.
And he told you she had done it before, right?
Yes.
And I take it also, though, that based on your testimony from yesterday, you had at least a friendly relationship with Mrs. Dulos, particularly when she was living in Farmington, correct?
Correct.
You actually helped her, according to your testimony, move her stuff down, you said, to Pound Ridge, right?
Hi, Kiefer.
Correct.
And for the record, where is Pound Ridge?
I'm not sure. I think it's New York.
But it's near Fairfield County, right? It's over the border somewhere?
Hi, Amy Lee.
I don't recall it.
Did you actually physically move her belongings to a house at Pound Ridge?
Yes.
In your truck?
Don't remember which vehicle.
I'm sorry?
I don't remember which vehicle.
All right. But you made multiple trips for her, didn't you?
Correct.
When she was moving out of the house, you were moving things down to a house she either owned or was renting in Pound Ridge, New York, right?
That was house that was, yeah, that her family owned.
Oh, it was a family-owned house. Okay, that's correct?
Correct.
You didn't tell Mr. Dulos that you were helping Jennifer Dulos move, did you?
No.
You wanted to keep that kind of confidential, I take it.
I don't recall it.
Now, the other thing that you said is around Greek Easter, there was an incident involving a conversation you had with Michelle Troconis around the illness of the dog, right?
Right.
Now, I just want to be clear about one thing. Mr. Dulos was very upset about his dog getting very, very ill, right?
Correct.
This was a Labrador Golden Lab that had been owned by the family for many years, correct?
Correct.
You probably, I don't know if you know, but did you know the dog the entire time you worked for Mr. Dulos?
Can you explain the question?
Yeah, had you seen the dog at the house the entire time you were working for the Ford Group?
Yes.
And was the dog there when the children were little?
Yes.
Was it a friendly dog?
Very.
Did you ever play with it or pet it or anything?
It was always sitting under my desk in the office.
It was always in the office?
Yes.
So even after Mrs. Dulos moved out, that dog was kind of attached to Mr. Dulos and the staff, right?
Yes.
Did you ever walk the dog or go out and play with it?
Oh my God.
Possible.
And you saw that it was getting sick, right?
Yes.
Now I want to be clear about one thing. You're the one that took, the name of the dog is Beckham, right?
Correct.
And the reason that you took Beckham to the vet, correct?
Correct.
Because there was whatever was wrong, then they needed to do blood work and stuff, right?
I don't remember what was wrong, but I did look into the vet.
Do you recall, though, that you went with Miss Troconis' father, Carlos, to the vet?
I don't recall it.
You don't recall having a conversation with Fotis that because Carlos was a doctor, it might be better for him to accompany you to the vet? He would learn more and know what is happening about?
I don't recall that. No.
You don't recall that? Okay. In any event, were you in the room when the vet said that, the dog is dying and something needs to be done?
Was I in the room?
When the veterinarian said that.
I don't recall it.
You had a conversation, though, with Mr. Dulos about the fact they had to now euthanize the dog. You know what that means?
Yes.
You were so you know what it means. So my next question is, were you in the conversation with Mr. Dulos when he said he had to euthanize the dog?
At Fort Jefferson, not at the vet.
Oh, no, back at Fort Jefferson, right?
Yes.
And he was very upset about that, wasn't he?
Very sad.
And what you said yesterday is, as I understood it, is Mr. Dulos wanted to allow the children to see their dog one more time before it had to be put to sleep, correct?
Correct.
And he was upset because his wife said no, right?
Yes.
Your testimony from yesterday also, as I understand it, was that when he said that and he talked about how upset he was, you said that my client said something with profanity that she should be, I want to get it correct here. That bitch should be buried next to the dog. That's your testimony, right?
Correct.
And you said that it was an effort, you saw it as an effort for Miss Troconis to cheer up Fotis, right?
That's how I understood.
So like as a joke, right? A sick joke, but still a joke, right?
Sick joke.
I wouldn't call it a joke, but yeah.
You're cheering somebody up with some humor, right?
Not that kind of humor, but yeah.
Okay. Now, it's your testimony that she used the profanity in this conversation. Is it your testimony that Michelle often used profanity, swear words in English in her conversations around you?
I don't recall it.
Ever before, right?
She might, but I don't recall it.
Okay. So sometime over the weekend of Memorial Day, you found out that Jennifer was missing, right?
Yes.
And that was on the weekend, that would have been on the Sunday, I believe you testified? You found it out?
I believe so, yes.
And you received a phone call from Fotis Dulos in the afternoon where he told you that his wife was missing, correct?
Correct.
But you also had a conversation that you would not be back to work until Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day, correct?
Correct.
On that Sunday is when you started searching about the missing wife of Fotis Dulos, isn't that correct?
I don't recall it, but if it's in my phone search history, I don't deny it.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is the police, in fact, in one of the interviews, said to you that they had your phone data, correct?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. The police, in one of their interviews in June or July of 2019, told you that after they seized your phone, they were downloading the data from it. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And one of the things that they told you was that you were searching about the disappearance. Does that ring a bell?
Possible, yes.
So it was at least something of interest to you to see how much news media coverage there was, right?
Why wouldn't it be? What a strange question.
I wouldn't say how much news coverage was it. Like, I could have seen it on TV or something and start researching it.
You were curious about the investigation, weren't you?
I was curious about what's going on.
But as you said multiple times yesterday, you were certain that at that time that Fotis Dulos had nothing to do with it, right?
Right.
And I also just want to be clear, you weren't sure which day you saw my client and Mr. Dulos in the kitchen. Do you remember testifying yesterday about Mr. Dulos wanting to write down where you were on Friday? Remember that?
Object misstates the testimony, Judge.
Well, of course, what was said yesterday is not as fresh as what is said today. So the court is going to allow the question.
He said fresh.
Can you repeat the question?
Do you ever testify yesterday that there was a time when you went into the kitchen after Memorial Day and you saw Fotis Dulos and my client there?
Yes.
Mr. Dulos at that time had told you that the police had taken his phone away the previous Saturday, right?
He didn't tell me when, that he told me that his phone was taken away, yes.
And that's why he asked if he could look through your phone to see what time you had called him and what time you had texted him and things like that, right?
He asked me, yes, he asked me if I was calling him, and then I started looking at the phone, and he asked me if he can see my phone.
And you, according to what you told the police, it was to see if the times could be defined, correct? Pinpointed.
Possible.
This also was not the day that your Tacoma was brought to the car wash, correct?
I'm not sure if that was the same day in the afternoon. You're talking about Tuesday now, right?
Yeah.
Or the next day?
Well, that's what I'm asking. It wasn't the time when you came back and saw that your car in the afternoon had been washed and cleaned was not the same day as this conversation in the kitchen about the writing down what you did on Friday and looking at your phone, correct?
I'm not sure if that was the same day or not.
You went down to New Canaan that Tuesday?
Which Tuesday?
The day after Memorial Day?
I don't recall it.
Didn't you say yesterday that when you stopped into the office before going down to New Canaan?
Yes.
All right, so that refreshes your recollection from yesterday, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were down in New Canaan that Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day, with which vehicle?
I believe white Jeep Cherokee.
You had had your Tacoma all weekend long, right?
Correct.
We just saw minutes ago an image of your Tacoma with you called it the dirt bike in the back of that vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Now, I want to be clear about this. You keep calling this a dirt bike, but it was actually a motocross motorcycle, right?
This is what it's called among dirt bike riders. This is what it's called. It's called dirt bike.
All right. But this is a registered motor vehicle, correct?
Yeah.
You didn't register it, though, did you?
No.
In fact, you were supposed to pay Mr. Troconis to buy that motorcycle. Isn't that right?
No.
You were not.
I paid Mr. Dulos for that motorcycle.
Yeah. You knew it was my client's motorcycle, though, didn't you?
Yes.
You never paid her anything, right?
Correct.
You never got any title for it, did you?
Yes, correct.
That's correct, right? And in fact, after Mr. Troconis had to move out of 4 Jefferson Crossing, she asked for it back, right?
I don't recall when she asked for it back.
Well, it was after I was her lawyer, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because you remember meeting me to return the bike at a parking lot in Avon, correct?
I didn't meet you, I saw you.
Okay.
Such strange lines of questioning.
How long did this interaction with Mr. Dulos in the kitchen take place before you went down to New Canaan on that Tuesday after Memorial Day?
I don't recall it.
An hour?
Possible.
As you already testified, you didn't need to keep track of your time, did you?
Yes.
I'm correct about that? You didn't have to, you didn't punch a clock, right?
Correct.
You didn't have to write down your hours?
Correct.
So you came and went, as long as the job got done, Dulos was happy, and the foregroup got its projects done on time, right?
Correct.
You testified that Mr. Dulos was trying to get you to write down what you did on Friday, but you said, I know what I did, I don't need to write it down. Remember saying that?
Not exact the words that you said, but
Well, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not using your exact words. I would have to order a transcript. But am I correct that that was the scenario? Yes, what you said yesterday?
correct.
And Mr. Dulos was being kind of pushy about it, right?
I believe he said that was a suggestion of his lawyer.
Okay, well, let's get into it. You knew he had more than one lawyer, right?
At that time, I didn't know he had any lawyers. I mean, that was the first time I heard that he has a lawyer.
Well, didn't you testify that whenever he was meeting with his lawyer that he would ask that, you not come in or that you do this, that he meet privately with the lawyer?
Well, that was
divorce lawyer, I believe.
That's the divorce lawyer. But did you also know that the Farber family, that is Jennifer's family, was suing the foregroup?
I don't recall it if I knew about that at that time.
You did not know?
I don't recall it.
Okay. So all you knew was that he was meeting with a lawyer, right?
I believe he told me divorce lawyer.
That's what you believe. But did you know who Kent Mawhinney was?
I never met Ken Moe.
Do you know who he was?
Do I know now who he was?
No. Did you know then who he was?
I don't believe so, no. I never met Ken Moe.
So you didn't know Mr. Mawhinney was one of Mr. Dulos' lawyers back then?
I remember prior to 2016 when I was applying for my green card, he mentioned someone to me, but I'm not sure if that was Kent Moe. He mentioned some lawyer that he was helping him or his mom with obtaining legal status in this country. So it's possible that's when I heard of Kent Moe.
All of these conversations that we're now talking about, this was before you replaced the seats in your Tacoma, right?
Correct.
And it was before Mr. Dulos asked you to replace those seats, isn't it true?
It is.
About 11:15, we'll stand in our morning recess. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not discuss the case.
Morning recess.
Is it on?
His line of questioning sometimes is nonsensical, and some of it is stuff that just he gets so bogged down in I don't know who, somebody said it a minute ago, in like semantics on some things that don't matter. It's I know that's his strategy, but man, is it not effective.
Oh, our screen isn't on either. Sorry.
Because if we feel like this and we can listen to it at a faster speed and skip through, think about how the jury feels.
Is that screen on? Recognize that. Look at that image, please.
Hey, Sugar Bacon. Bacon bit.
It has been offered as a full. Yeah, okay. Do you recognize that to be Beckham?
I don't see it.
Oh, I thought, didn't have one.
Is the screen on in front of him?
Is this screen on?
It was, and
Oh, shut them both off.
Right.
You just have to hit the button on the bottom.
On the bottom?
I can do it. Okay. Let me just the remote hand.
All right, here we go. Back to the dog.
It won't be on our screen.
All right. Do you recognize that to be Beckham?
it looks like it, yes.
And you see, and does that fairly and accurately look the way he looked at the end of April 2019 after he'd just come back from the vet?
I don't recall seeing him when he came back from the vet.
Didn't you bring him back? You have a bandage on his arm?
I don't recall that, no.
You do not?
It must be someone else who brought him back.
Right. But do you recognize that to be Beckham? You can't tell that one golden retriever.
It's a golden retriever. It looks like it. But
It does look like Beckham, right? Right. And that would be what he would look like at the end of April 2019, around the time you brought him to the vet?
possibly.
All right. I'd offer that image, Your Honor.
I object to the image on relevance grounds, Judge, and also the fact that it hasn't been authenticated as the dog.
Well, relevance.
What is the relevance?
The relevance is that it does show that the dog had been at the vet, it's bandaged, it had blood work done. That's the purpose of this interview.
Well, that's a fact, but of course, relevant evidence is evidence that has any tendency to make a material fact more likely or less likely than it would be without the evidence. So what's the material fact for which this offer is made?
The fact that there might have been animal blood in the Suburban when this dog was brought in the other Suburban, that is the one from Mr. Dulos, the dog was taken.
Do you wish to respond, counsel?
Animal blood in the Suburban?
Well, that's the claim on relevance. Do you wish to be heard?
Yeah, I object on relevance grounds. There's absolutely no nexus between that event and also animal blood that comes back as a profile to Jennifer Dulos. I don't see how this is relevant at all. And with respect to the Suburban, which Suburban are we referring to?
The 2015 Suburban, for which there was zero evidence of Jennifer Dulos.
Well, this is now an effort to waft into the jury box either evidence that has been admitted or evidence that has yet to be adduced. So if the objection is relevant, the court is not certain in which vehicle the animal was transported to the vet.
I will lay that foundation.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Gumieni, Beckham was taken to the vet in Fotis Dulos' Suburban, wasn't he?
I'm not sure if that was Suburban or the Jeep.
Well, the Jeep was newer, right?
What do you mean newer?
The Jeep was in better condition, a newer vehicle, right?
Possibly, yes.
So it's your testimony that you don't recall that you brought the dog to the vet in the Suburban because it was a larger vehicle?
I'm not sure what vehicle that I brought them to.
So you're not disputing the fact that you used the Suburban, right?
I'm not
He
disputing
said he
that.
doesn't know.
You drove, I believe you testified, you drove any of the vehicles that belonged to the Ford Group, right?
Yes.
On any given day, right?
Very, very rarely the Suburban.
But you preferred the Jeep is what you said, right?
Yes.
But you drove the Raptor, right?
Yes.
And you also drove the Suburban, right?
Not work related. And it was only driving Jennifer to airport, Fotis to airport, and
Bringing the dog maybe to the vet?
I don't deny it, possibly.
Okay. I would offer it again, Your Honor.
Well, Judge, I object. First of all, there's still no evidence that this is, in fact, Beckham the dog, number one. Number two, there's no evidence that Beckham the dog was actually transported in the particular vehicle, apparently, which Mr. Schoenhorn is trying to make the connection to. Number three, there's no evidence where Beckham was in the vehicle. Number four, there is no evidence that Beckham bled in the vehicle. I just don't see the relevance of this at all, quite frankly, at this point.
The issue is not, at this point, whether the state considers certain evidence strong or weak. If the testimony from the witness is that he can't remember whether he transported the dog in the Suburban or any other vehicle, he said he did not deny that it could have been the Suburban, and that there was a possibility of animal blood being in the Suburban. The court is going to overrule the objection.
Could you now, is the large screen on?
Yeah.
No self-respecting dog
The screen is
would
still on.
befriend this attorney.
So you said that this conversation took place around Greek Easter, correct?
Hi, Beckham. You're a good boy.
Which conversation?
The conversation with Michelle about Beckham took place around Greek Easter, correct?
That's what I said, yes.
And Greek Easter in 2019 was just around April 27th, wasn't it?
I don't recall it when the Greek Easter
Oh,
was. But
Beckham.
Greek Easter is a different,
if this is what it says on the calendar, then
it's different than, let's say, regular Easter, right? The Catholic Easter, right? Yes?
yes.
Okay, tell me why I see Beckham and I know that he's passed away and I'm getting tears in my eyes. I'm ridiculous.
All right. Do you remember
Oh, Beckham.
Beckham coming back from the vet before he was having to be put down?
I don't. The last time I saw Beckham was when I left him at the vet.
Well, when Mr. Dulos told you how upset he was that the children wouldn't get to see the dog before he was euthanized, wasn't Beckham still alive?
He was.
And he was very sick, though.
Objection, Judge. May he finish his answer?
Well, the witness was not given an opportunity.
Very well.
My understanding at that time was that the Beckham was still at the vet.
He was still at the vet and not brought back to the house?
My understanding was at that time, yes.
Are you jealous because I was saying
That
hi
you knew
to
that
the dog?
that the dog was going to be euthanized, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You want a treat?
So let's talk a little bit about your working for the Ford Group. You said you started working for the Ford Group full-time since 2016, correct?
On the books, yes.
Well, when you say on the book, so before that you were working, what, under the table? Is that what that means?
As a subcontractor.
As a subcontractor. You were being paid as a, well, I guess you'd call it 1099 employee?
Correct.
You also said that before that you were working at another building company doing framing, right?
Correct.
You also talked about when you got your green card, and we were talking about that yesterday, correct?
Correct.
So based on your math, you were working before you got your green card, isn't that true?
True.
But you had known Fotis Dulos for several years, even prior to working for him as a contract employee under a 1099 form, right?
Correct.
I think you said that you knew him since, what, 2004 or 5?
About that time.
Danny
That's
Doe
about
just
right.
got your treats.
He was already building homes back then, right?
Sorry. This treat that Lucy's got in her mouth right now, that's the ones that Danny Doe 420 got her. She loves those things.
Yes.
They're kind of his brand, if you will. Were kind of luxury, large homes, right?
Correct.
You also did other, I'll call them odd jobs, but maybe chores for Mr. Dulos that were not part of your regular four-group responsibilities, correct?
Can you explain the chores?
Well, you mowed lawns, right?
Yes.
You would sometimes, like you just said, bring firewood up to the house.
I don't recall it, but possible.
You would fix things that broke in the house, sinks and whatnot.
Yes.
And your schedule depended upon the particular project, right?
In which time period are you talking about?
Well, let's talk about 2018 and 2019 while working for the four.
2018 and 2019, I was full-time employed.
Right, I'm talking about your schedule, though. Like when you would come in, when you'd go to the job, how long you stayed, depended on the project, right?
Correct.
And it depended upon what needed to be done at a particular time, right?
Right.
If you needed to meet with a subcontractor installing plumbing or fixtures, you would have to meet that person to let them in, be there while they were doing their work, at least part of the time, correct?
I don't have to be there. Usually I would meet with the contractor with his first day on the job.
After that, you would have to check to make sure it's done.
I was just check on him every now and then.
Your hours were flexible. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes.
Nobody checked. You didn't have to like write down where you were going at any particular time, right?
Correct.
You also indicated, as I understand it, that you didn't socialize with Fotis Dulos outside of work, correct?
Correct.
But you did go to certain dinner parties and events that took place at Mr. Dulos' home, right?
Right.
In fact, Greek Easter that year, there was a large gathering outside on the porch with what, 15, 20, maybe more people, right?
I don't recall it.
You don't recall sitting out on the...
I recall it being there. I don't recall that there was 15 or 20 people.
You don't remember almost all of Michelle Troconis' family had flown from all over the country to be there?
I remember some of them.
And other members of the staff came to that dinner as well?
Yes.
It's also true that Mr. Dulos himself liked to cook. Isn't that true?
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
You also testified that Mr. Dulos would be in the office many times, correct, while you were there?
Correct.
You worked at the same, was it the same large desk? And you had a different workstation, or did you have a separate desk?
I have a separate desk.
Was it in the same room as the large glass conference table?
No.
Was it in the room, one of the side rooms that was there?
Yes.
But you had your own workspace, correct?
Correct.
And you could let yourself into the office at any time, correct?
Correct.
There was a separate entrance to the four-group offices, right?
Right.
In fact, people would often come in to the office without even having to go through the residence portion of that home, correct?
Most of the time.
You weren't always in that office, though, were you?
What do you mean?
It wasn't a desk job, your position as a project manager.
I think it's fair to say that I'd spend more time on the job site than in the office.
Like I said, so you were able to go out, you'd be at the job site, supervise, correct?
Correct.
Sometimes you would run out and buy parts or get something that was needed at the house, right?
What do you mean by the house?
For the job site, you might have to pick up something for the job site yourself, right?
Yes.
That was part of your job, right?
Correct.
And you were responsible for making sure that subcontractors showed up when they were supposed to show up, right?
Correct.
And got the job done when they were supposed to get it done.
Correct.
You talked to Mr. Dulos almost every workday?
As needed.
Well, there would at least be either a text or a communication, verbal or email, almost every day you were working, correct?
I wouldn't say every day. Could have been days without communication.
Mr. Dulos did travel a fair bit, correct?
Travel.
What?
What do you mean by travel?
Travel, like not be in Farmington at the Ford Group, he'd be someplace else.
Yeah.
You knew that you knew that he was big into water skiing, right?
Yes.
He was actually competitive in water skiing, wasn't he? He would participate in tournaments, right?
Right.
And he would travel to go to those tournaments, right?
I think it's fair to say that, yeah.
And you've been doing that the whole time that you knew him, right?
At the very beginning, I didn't know about this water skiing.
But when you came to work for him as a full-time employee, you knew, right?
Yeah.
You knew that some of his children also were into competitive water skiing, right?
Correct.
And you mentioned the pond, right? You said that yesterday?
Correct.
Had you ever been to the pond?
Yes.
So you knew who Mr. Haynes was, right? The owner of the pond?
Yes.
Hutch, they called him Hutch, right?
Correct.
You'd met him, right?
Yes.
He was a friend of Mr. Dulos as well?
I believe so, yes.
And I think you were asked if you ever water skied, and I can't remember, you said that wasn't something you liked to do?
Hey, Dulos offered me, but I
Didn't appeal to you?
not really, no.
And they call it a pond, but it's really a lake with a jumping, one of these ramps, right?
Correct.
When you were in the office, you might be there an entire day without knowing who was in the residence part of the house, correct?
Correct.
It was a big enough house that people could be walking and talking in one of the other rooms in the house portion. You would have no idea whether they were there or not, correct?
Correct.
People park sometimes in the back of the building. That is, you go through the archway to the rear of the house, right?
Yes.
People could park outside on a pavement area behind the house, right?
Right.
You also testified that you would put your Tacoma, well, let me ask you this. Where did you usually park your Tacoma if you were leaving it at 4 Jefferson Crossing?
At the back parking spot.
At some point, you started parking it in the garage, correct?
Correct.
You testified that your truck was leaking oil, right?
Right.
You testified it was also, as I understand it, leaking steering fluid?
That's the same thing.
So the hydraulic line for the steering was leaking, correct?
Correct.
By the way, when people came to the office, would they park in the driveway in the front, or would they pull into the back through the archway?
Can you specify what people?
Customers, people that were coming there for the to visit the 4 group offices.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say both.
Where?
Front and back.
They would park in the front as well as back?
Yes.
What about employees? Would they park in the front of the garages?
Mainly on the back of the house, yes.
What about real estate agents, realtors?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Mainly on the back of the house.
What about customers? That is, people who are coming maybe to buy one of the houses or look at plans for houses.
Customers would park in front of the house and behind the house.
There weren't any signs that said no parking in front of the garages or anything, were there?
No.
There was also one of these long, shall we say, curved crescent driveways, right?
Correct.
Did any people ever park closer to the front of the house and point their vehicles out back towards Jefferson Crossing on the other side where the garages were?
Possible.
The first time that you spoke to police officers in connection with this case was on May 31st, 2019, right?
That was
That Friday.
after
31st.
Jennifer's disappearance.
Sorry?
The Friday after Jennifer's disappearance.
The Friday after Jennifer's disappearance. That's the first time you spoke to the police about it, right?
Correct.
You were in the Jeep.
Yes.
You were driving to drop off tools at the office that day, right?
Right.
You said you saw a number of cars there, right?
Correct.
They were all gray, either SUVs or the kind of vehicles that looked like state police cars, weren't they?
I don't recall if they were all gray.
Well, you believe they were police vehicles, correct?
At first sight, I didn't know who it was.
You saw people standing in the driveway, correct?
Correct.
Weren't they wearing vests that said police or state police on them?
I don't recall it, no.
You don't recall that. So, as I understand you then, you see people are in the driveway, but you're not curious to drive in to see what's going on, right?
Correct.
Total stranger standing around and you just drove past the residence.
It's not his house.
Past the office, right?
Yes.
Not even pulling in the second entrance, right?
Correct.
You pulled in to, you said you went all the way down to the end of Jefferson Crossing, and there's a dead-end cul-de-sac there, right?
Right.
You turned around the cul-de-sac and started coming back, right?
Right.
Now, this was your office space, wasn't it? For Jefferson Crossing?
Right.
You had every right to be there, right?
Right.
So the reason you didn't want to go into that driveway is you did not want to have to talk to the police, correct?
I didn't know that was the police at that time.
You thought just some random people were standing on the property.
I don't remember what I was thinking 5 years ago.
You didn't see any couples looking to buy that house, did you?
No.
You did stop your car as you were driving back towards Eli Road, didn't you?
Correct.
That's when the police came in the road and told you to stop, right?
Right.
Then you did recognize that they were police officers, right?
I believe so.
You're not sure? You just stopped for some random person?
Oh my God.
Yes.
Did you roll down the window?
Possible, yes.
You don't know?
Like it might have been rolled down already.
The Jeep was air conditioned, right?
Right.
And although May 31st was still spring, it was it was warm enough you could use the air conditioning, right?
Right.
Do you remember that the person who approached you was a detective named Butin?
Correct.
The same one who interviewed you a couple of times that you testified about yesterday, correct?
Correct.
Detective Butin asked you where you were coming from, didn't he?
He did.
You told him you were coming from New Canaan, right?
Right.
You didn't tell him.
Okay, real quick. Him talking about this, we've talked a little bit about why Pavel had the deal for immunity, and some of the questioning here, I think, goes towards that. Pavel didn't get his verbal immunity agreement until like his, I think, third interview. But he had talked to police a couple times before, and he didn't tell them everything. So he got his immunity, his verbal immunity deal before he told them everything. So
at that point,
keep that in mind here.
That you were actually over at 585 Deercliff, did you? In Avon?
At that time, no.
You didn't tell him you'd been at a junkyard in Southington for a couple of hours, did you?
No.
You didn't tell him you'd been to a second, I don't know if it was a junkyard or used car parts place in Avon?
Nothing.
Now, keep in mind, all of these places that he was were at the direct orders of his boss.
You what?
Not Avon, no.
What town was
Fotis.
the second place in?
I believe Berlin.
Berlin. So you went from Southington down to Berlin, right?
Correct.
So Berlin's even further south from Farmington, isn't it?
Possible.
It's below New Britain, right?
I don't know.
Well, you know what the Berlin Turnpike is, right?
Yes.
Don't you go down and the next town is Meriden?
I don't know. I would have to look on them up.
Fair enough. In any event, you didn't mention that you'd been in Berlin, right?
To the police.
To the police?
No.
No. And you didn't mention that you'd also gone to the AutoZone in either Avon or Canton, wherever it's located, right?
Correct.
And that's on Route 44, right?
Correct.
They did take you out of asked you to step out, right?
Yes.
And they frisked you, right? You said that they asked you if you had any weapons or anything else? They asked about drugs or anything?
I believe so.
All right. But in any event, they frisked you,
In
correct?
any event.
Correct.
Did you give them permission to do that, or did they just do it anyway?
Just going to object relevance.
Relevance.
It's within the scope of direct, Your Honor.
Well, whether he gave permission may go to what his state of mind was, but the fact that he was searched or patted down is already in evidence. So what the court is going to do, the court does not know for what reason the question was asked, because the court does not prepare the case for the defense or the case for the state. But it may, because it may go to his state of mind, the court's going to overrule the objection.
Can I answer?
Sure.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Did you give them permission at that point to search you?
I don't recall if they asked me.
In any event, after they searched you, Detective Butin suggested that you had been untruthful to him about where you were coming from. Isn't that correct?
I don't recall it.
Didn't he say you're too soaking wet to have just been driving up from New Canaan in an air-conditioned car, or words to that effect?
I believe he said something that I was sweaty, and what was I doing?
Okay. And it's at that point you told him you had been removing seats from your boss's car down the road in Avon, right?
Correct.
But you didn't tell, and you did indicate to him that you were going to put those seats in your own truck, right? You told him that.
Correct.
You had them in the back of the Porsche seats in the back of your vehicle at that point, right?
Thank
The
you,
Jeep.
Becca.
Correct.
But you did, even then, you didn't tell him, oh, I was also looking at junkyards in Berlin and Southington. You didn't tell him that, right?
Nobody asked.
Well, he asked where you'd been or where you're coming from. And
My understanding was where you'd been earlier that day, and that's what I told him I was coming down from New Canaan.
well, earlier in that day, he wasn't asking where you were coming from at that moment.
I believe I understood where I was coming from earlier that day. I can't remember.
Okay. But again, you only volunteered even Avon when they questioned the truthfulness of your answer about New Canaan, right?
He asked me why was I sweaty, and I told him that I was removing seats from AN in Avon. Yes, correct.
A couple of days later, the police showed up at your house.
So another thing Shoehorn's doing here, it's like he's trying to, the way he's wording things is very different than how Pavel is, obviously. He's saying, Pavel had been in New Canaan earlier that day, and then he'd gone to, when he left New Canaan, the workplace or whatever, he had gone to the hardware place or whatever, and then went to look for the seats, and then went and got the seats out of the Porsche. So when the police said, where are you coming from today? And he said, New Canaan, that's where he had been earlier. Then there were things that he had done since then. And so when they said something about, why are you sweaty? He said, oh, well, I was just removing seats, and got sweaty. So that Shoehorn is turning that into, oh, you lied and didn't tell them where you had actually been. You only told them where you were earlier that day. And it wasn't until they questioned you about your truthfulness that you actually told them where you were. So you can hear like this, like the slant that he's putting on the answer in order to make the jury think like, oh, Pavel is not, he's not truthful. He's, he's hiding stuff. So he's like trying to kind of paint the answers and the way he's responding in that light for the jury.
Said on June 2nd.
Which not only is the defense, have they, multiple times tried to make Pavel into, like a potential, the potential person behind all of this, but also by making him seem untrustworthy to the jury, maybe the jury will not believe what he said about, some of the bad things that he repeated that Michelle had said.
Right?
Was that Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
Correct.
If May 31st was a Friday, right, you agreed June 2nd would have been a Sunday, correct?
Correct.
At that time, they took your phone, right?
They asked for my permission to give them the phone, yes.
But you said you gave them permission, but that wasn't the whole scenario, was it?
Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah. You got Mr. Urzo on the phone about the fact that the police wanted to take your phone, didn't you?
To my best recollection, I told him that I agree with them to take my phone, and I asked if I can just call Mr. Urzo to speak to him about it.
And this interaction with the police was recorded, don't you?
Now I do, yes.
You didn't know then?
No.
But you know that Mr. Urzo, in your presence, told the police they didn't have a warrant.
Objection,
right?
Judge, relevance.
Well, what is happening is that this whole conversation is being recounted. So what Attorney Urso told his client has to relate to something other than just a chronology of the dialogue. So, counsel, what is the relevance of Attorney Urso telling Mr. Gumieni that the police needed a warrant?
It goes directly to this witness's credibility about whether he gave permission or not and what the circumstances were.
Well, the fact that this witness has a attorney-client relationship with Attorney Urso, and that Attorney Urso told him the police need a warrant.
No, Your Honor. Mr. Urzo told the police on a recording that they needed a warrant.
So what is the question?
In your presence, did Mr. Urzo tell the police that they needed a warrant to take your phone?
And there's an objection.
There's an objection on relevance grounds, Judge.
And when you talk about a recording, counsel, this is a recording that is not in evidence, correct?
Correct.
The court is going to sustain the objection.
The police told you whatever Mr. Urzo said something to the police, correct? In your presence, right?
Correct.
And then the police said to you that if you did not agree to give them your phone, it would be months before you'd get it back, didn't they?
Correct.
So it was only after they said that you agreed to let them have your phone, right?
I agreed to let them have my phone at first when they asked me, if I remember it correctly. And then I told Detective Newton if I can just call my attorney and just speak with him, make sure he's okay with it.
And then you put Mr. Urzo, your attorney, on with the police, right?
Yes.
On a speakerphone, right? Yes. And that was when the subject that if they didn't have a warrant, they couldn't take it.
Objection.
Raised, correct?
Objection,
Well,
Judge.
the court already indicated that, unless it was not clear, the discussion of the warrant is not relevant. There's already been evidence that the police, at least through the question, told Mr. Gumieni that it would be months before he could get back the phone under certain circumstances. Sustained.
In any event, the police said if you wanted to see your phone back faster, you got to give them permission to take it. Isn't that what they said to you?
At some point, I remember saying that, yeah.
Okay, that's them saying it to you, right?
Yeah.
And then they gave you, then you gave them permission to take it, right?
I'm not sure if I gave him permission to take it prior to that or after to that.
Mr. Gumiani, wasn't it after the whole conversation we just talked to you about that you agreed to let them get your phone because they said that you'd get it back faster?
My understanding was I agreed with them to take my phone and downloaded it, and I called Mr. Uso just to make sure he's okay with it. From what I remember, Mr. Uso said, no, they need a warrant. They can seize it, but they can't search it until they have a warrant. And I explained to Mr. Uso that I had nothing to hide, and I want him to download my phone. This is how I remember it.
Do you remember the part that I've asked you about that the police said if they had to do those steps, it would be months before you saw the phone again?
I believe that was after, yes.
Okay. The police came back to your home on June 6, 2019, correct? 4 days later?
I don't recall the date, but...
A few days later after that first encounter?
Yes.
Incidentally, on that first day, they wanted to take the Jeep, didn't they?
Can you specify what you mean by first day?
Yeah, the Jeep, when they came on June 2nd, wasn't the Jeep parked in your driveway?
Yes.
They wanted to take it, right?
I believe that was the second visit.
On the June 6th date, they wanted to take it?
Sunday, right?
Well, Sunday's the 2nd.
Judge, if I may, there was 2 separate trips by the police on June 2nd to Mr. Gumiani's house, and he's indicating it was the second visit. So perhaps if counsel can clarify which visit he's referring to when they wanted to take the Jeep.
All right, I thought it was one, but there were 2 separate times they came to your house that Sunday?
Yes.
Same officers?
I believe so, yes.
At some point when they were there, you had already found out that Mr. Dulos had been arrested, right? The night before.
Happy birthday, Sandra Oliver.
I don't remember if I was aware of that.
For either of those visits on June 2nd by the police?
I don't remember.
In any event, they wanted to take the Jeep, correct?
Correct.
But you didn't give them permission to do it because it belonged to the Ford Group, right?
I don't recall it.
Let me jump to June 6th. Do you recall, I believe, what you were testifying, that they wanted you to show them where the power line trail was in the water company property, right?
Correct.
Where you had ridden, how many times, let me interrupt that. How many times had you ridden motorcycling in the power line trail with Mr. Dulos?
Twice.
Twice?
Yes.
And on your own, had you gone on the power line trail?
Never.
That trail has got a lot of large gravel, correct?
Yeah.
It's a power line trail for large utility vehicles, correct?
Yes.
It's very steep in some places, right?
I would call it steep.
In the area around Route 44, aren't there cliffs and whatnot? You have to wind up and around to stay on the trail?
Yeah, but that's not a trail for power line trucking.
Well, the power lines themselves are on this steep gravel road, correct?
Yes, but there's no gravel in that particular area you're talking about.
Because it's cliffs and rocks, right? Very difficult if you don't have a wide tired vehicle, correct?
Correct.
In fact, when you first agreed to go with the police, you were going to take your other vehicle besides the Tacoma, right?
Right.
Which was the other vehicle you had at that time?
It was my wife's car.
What kind of car was it?
It's a sedan.
And then I think you also testified the Tacoma was also registered to your wife, right?
Correct.
So she had a sedan. Was it an all-wheel drive sedan? No. Was the Tacoma all-wheel drive?
Yes.
So when you were taking the sedan, it was the police that said, well, why don't you take the Tacoma because of the terrain? Isn't that what they said?
I don't recall it.
Didn't you say?
I don't recall the terrain part.
Well, didn't they say they'd rather you bring the all-wheel drive vehicle because of how difficult it would be to drive through there with a regular sedan?
I recall them to ask me if I could take my truck, but I don't recall the terrain.
You don't recall the reason why?
No.
When you got to the power line, as I understand it, this is on Route 44 on Avon Mountain where you stopped, right?
Correct.
So let me just see if I set this up because, I'm from that area, but the people here are not. So Albany Avenue is Route 44, goes all the way up, climbs up Avon Mountain, right? From West Hartford, right?
I'm not sure. I rarely ever go that way.
Well, it's a steep road.
Avon Mountain, yes.
Avon Mountain. And then down the other side, it's quite steep down to Avon, right?
Correct.
You come down to Avon as the other side of the mountain, correct?
Correct.
When you went from Simsbury to your office at Ford Group, did you usually take Deer Cliff Road?
Yes.
So you would have to come from Simsbury. Did you usually come on from like down on the Farmington Valley side of Avon Mountain?
Sometimes.
Well, again, I guess you could go through Bloomfield, but I'm just trying to figure out, did you go up, to get to your office, you usually go up Route 44 and turn right on Deer Cliff Road?
Yes.
Or did you come from West Hartford and go up and turn left?
From Avon.
Okay, so you'd go up, that was a steep hill, right?
Yes.
There were always a lot of accidents, especially in the winter up there?
I heard of one or two, yes.
Okay, and then Deer Cliff was almost at the very top of Avon Mountain, right?
Yes.
and then you would drive down Deercliff Road. It would turn into Eli Road, right around where Jefferson Crossing is, correct?
Yes.
Now, the power line crossing that was where you stopped your vehicle was just about across from the entrance from the Reservoir 6 parking area, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Reservoir 6 is part of MDC, right?
I have no knowledge of that.
Have you ever been in there?
Yes, but I don't know what's part of what.
You know that there's parking, people go hiking and walking around that area, right?
I've seen people parking there, yes.
And you parked, but if you go up a bit, there is a gravel entrance with a gate where the power line crosses Route 44, right? Am I right?
Possible.
Well, what I'm trying to do is figure out, you said you parked along on the other side from the Reservoir Road, along Route 44.
I parked to the right, yes.
Now, there's a turnout where there's a hiking trail. You know what I'm talking about, right? On the right?
Yes.
And then just before that, a little higher up, there's like the utility entrance for the power company with a metal bar across it, right?
I don't deny it, but I don't recall it.
Did you park up there where the gate was, or did you park in that turnout for people to park so they can go on the hiking trail?
And where the people park, there's multiple parking spots.
Okay, and when you pulled in there, that's when the police handed you the search warrant that they were taking your truck?
Correct.
They didn't tell you before that, did they?
No.
Now, when the police interviewed you on June 6th, they asked you about what Fotis Dulos did on May 24th, didn't they?
Which interview are you talking about?
The same day that they took your truck on Albany Avenue.
I was going to object, Your Honor. I'm confused by the question myself. What interview were we referring
June 6th, when the same day that they took your
He said objection. None of us know what he's talking
They
about
interviewed
anymore.
you as well, didn't they?
I don't recall it. That was the same day?
Yeah, the same day.
I have many meetings with police. I just don't recall if that was the same day or not.
Okay, whether it's the same day or not, you do remember, well, how many meetings did you have with them, do you recall?
I don't.
Was it more than 5?
Yes.
And then you met with them, like, recently, last couple of days?
I didn't meet with them. I think I had a Zoom call.
Okay, and your lawyer was with you for that Zoom call, right?
No.
He was not?
No.
But how many times then, either on Zoom or in person, did you meet with law enforcement about your actions on those days in 2019?
I couldn't tell you.
But it was more than 5?
Yes.
Okay, so it's hard for you to remember when you had a conversation about anything particular. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. But at various times in 2019, they asked you about Fotis Dulos' whereabouts on May 24th, correct? The day of the disappearance. So I'm saying after that, they asked you about that day multiple times, right?
Correct.
And they asked you about your whereabouts on that day, correct?
Correct.
And you told the police back in early June of 2019 that you liked Fotis Dulos, right?
Yes.
That he was a good boss.
Yes.
You believed he was a successful builder.
I don't recall saying that, but
Is that a fair statement, though?
yeah.
You took pride in the work you did in managing his projects, right?
Yes.
You thought he did it. You thought these houses were fine homes. They were expensive, but they were fine, right?
Yeah, it's fair to say that.
And you told the police.
Okay, this is something that's very common for attorneys to do too. This is very common where they're like, "Well, you said like, that he was a nice person. You liked him." This is very common because they're trying to show like, oh, you liked Fotis, like you think he was a nice guy. So it's kind of like, I see this all the time. But the problem is thinking that you like somebody before they murder somebody else is, we all can think somebody's a nice person until they're not.
Police that you respected him, that is Dulos?
Yes.
And you told them that he was a, quote, very nice guy, unquote, right? That's how you thought of him.
Yeah.
And you weren't making that up, were you?
No.
You were telling them how you really felt about him, right? And then the police also in June of 2019 asked you questions about his ongoing divorce.
Can you specify which?
Well, in general, didn't they ask you about what you knew about what was going on in the divorce?
Yeah.
You knew that the divorce had been going on for a long time, correct?
Correct.
You, in fact, had at least helped Jennifer moving stuff out without telling Fotis, right?
Right.
So you knew she was planning back then to move out, right?
I don't remember how that started.
At some point, you didn't tell Fotis what she was doing, though, right?
I remember Jennifer told me if I could move some stuff for her and not to tell Fotis, but I don't recall if she told me what the reason was for moving it.
But you did what she asked, right?
Yes.
Even though Fotis was your boss, not Jennifer, right?
Right.
You told the police that the divorce had been going on for a long time while you were working there, right?
Possible.
and you told them that Fotis had complained about how long it was taking to you, didn't you?
I don't recall saying that.
You don't recall saying that?
He's not going to remember everything that he said for 5 years ago.
You recall the police asking you specifically that Fotis and Jennifer are going through a pretty rough divorce. Fair to say, based on what you know, just kind of being around, is that a pretty accurate statement? You remember saying, yeah, he was complaining about it a couple of times, but he wasn't trying to tell me that, like he was almost to the point that he was suspicious that I would tell something to Jennifer. Do you remember telling that to the police?
Yeah, that refreshes my memory.
Okay. So at least a couple of times, you remember him complaining to you about how long it was taking. Right?
Possible, yes.
But you also knew that in the last couple of months before her disappearance, things seemed to be going pretty well for Fotis in the court. Isn't that true?
Yes.
He seemed to be very happy about the way things were coming out. And he was telling you that, right?
He mentioned something like that to me, yes.
According to him.
And you told that to the police as well, didn't you?
Yes.
And he told you that there was a really good custody report that had just come out, right?
What do you mean by custody report?
A report about who would get custody of the children. He told you that, didn't he?
I believe he told me that there's a pretty good chance of him getting full custody of the kids.
That wasn't going to happen.
Do you remember telling the police that about 2 months before, he was in a good mood, like he would only talk to me about the divorce? It was either very good or very bad. And then he said, didn't you say to the police, so he goes, that Jennifer hired some kind of psychologist, what's it called? The police say, yeah, psychiatrist, psychologist. And then you said to interview her and the kids to kind of find out what's best for the kids. And Fotis was telling me that he was very unhappy because obviously Jennifer hired him, so he's going to take her side. So him and his lawyer, they were fighting it. This is too long.
Judge, I'm just going to object to hearsay at this point. I mean, if Mr. Schoenhorn is...
Well, you said hearsay, counsel.
Yes, sir.
Well, first, this is impeachment by what counsel appears to be claiming as a prior inconsistent statement. If, according to the code, the statement should have been shown to the witness first. If the witness admits it, it couldn't come in as extrinsic evidence, but it was never shown to the witness. So first, if the claim is essentially improper impeachment, the court would sustain it.
So, Judge, if I may, the reason I objected to hearsay is because it is an improper impeachment. So I would add that, but that's the gravamen of my objection.
It's not that impeachment can't be accomplished, but it has to be done according to the code.
Judge, according to the code, I either ask him if he said it. If he doesn't, if he admits it, it doesn't need to come in. If he denies it, then it actually comes in. So this is the preliminary question to ask if that refreshes his recollection.
Counsel,
Oh,
the defense could have shown him the conversation with the police, determined that it may have refreshed his recollection, and then asked him the question.
He's so exhausting, isn't he? I feel like he's so exhausting. I think, you know what? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not the treatments that are making me so exhausted. Maybe it's shoehorn.
When reading a transcript of your interview, refresh your recollection as to what you told the police?
Yes.
I'll mark this for ID. It's page 135, 136.
May I just see it?
I love this judge.
So, Judge, I must confess, I don't recall whether or not Mr. Gumini indicated he needed his memory refreshed at this point.
Well, the code indicates that before extrinsic evidence of a prior inconsistent statement can be offered, the contents of the prior inconsistent statement has to be shown to the witness. In so doing, the witness's recollection would either be refreshed or not.
Understood, Judge.
May I approach?
Yes.
Right, future? That's what I was thinking. It
I'm just going
wasn't
to,
going to
it's a
happen.
2-page document. So I'm just going to have you read to yourself, starting from here where it's highlighted, and then if you'll just look at the back and see if this refreshes your recollection of what you told the police up to there. And then I'll ask you a question.
He's standing there like the, what did I say the other day? He looked like the Undertaker, like the killer of joy.
No, that's all I'm going to ask you about, so you can stop there. All right.
Now the question can be asked.
Do you recall now that Mr. Dulos told you that the report, even though he thought that the psychiatrist or psychologist had been hired by his wife's lawyer, that the report came out good and that he had a good chance of getting full custody?
Just going to object, Your Honor, hearsay.
Overruled. Yes.
Okay, so him saying that Fotis said that doesn't make it true. I want to keep that in mind. When I was going through all of the court documents and everything, what I read was that the psychologist was hired not by Jennifer's lawyer, but by the guardian ad litem. So it wasn't like somebody that was, just hired to say what she wanted them to say. And also, he wasn't getting full custody when he wasn't even allowed he wasn't even allowed to talk on the phone by himself.
I was going to now ask you a little bit about your Tacoma. Did you buy it new in 2001 or did you buy it used?
Bought it used.
So it already had sort of, I think you put it, the seats were all like filthy and grimy when you bought it.
Correct.
And that's why you put a pair of Ford motor seats in it, right?
Right.
And you were able to bolt them into the brackets where the bucket seats go in the front of the Tacoma?
I had to modify them, and I was able to do that.
You were able to do that?
Yep.
And those were the seats that were in your vehicle from what year, approximately? Soon after you bought it?
I think it's fair to say that, yes.
And you had it at least since 2010 or earlier?
I believe I bought the truck in 2012.
2012. Okay, so that was even before you went to work for the Ford Group, correct?
Correct.
It was, however, after you had met Mr. Dulos, right?
Correct.
And you were doing contract work through him, through the other company you worked for, right?
Correct.
When you had your own company for that period of time, that you were operating on your own, did you do any work for either Mr. Dulos or the Ford Group?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, before you went to work for Mr. Dulos, you had said you started your own LLC and had your own personal company for a little bit, right?
It was an LLC, but my personal company, yes.
You were working under doing business as under your real name, right?
Correct.
Did you do work for Mr. Dulos or the Ford Group when you had your own separate company under your own name?
Correct.
Did you come to their house for any of that work?
Can you specify the
To
year?
4 Jefferson Crossing.
The year?
Sorry?
The time period? The
Yeah,
year?
before 2016, did you come to 4 Jefferson Crossing to do any jobs there?
Yes.
And did you meet Mrs. Dulos then?
I think way earlier than that.
Oh, you met her even earlier when you were working for the framing company, you met her?
Yeah, I think so.
So you'd been there sometimes at 4 Jefferson Crossing even before you started your own business, right?
4 Jefferson Crossing?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think Jefferson Crossing was built in 2012.
Was or was not?
I think it was.
Right, so my question is, did you meet Mrs. Dulos at 4 Jefferson Crossing even when you were working for the framing company?
I couldn't meet her at 4 Jefferson Crossing. The Jefferson Crossing wasn't built.
Oh, you said it was not built?
Yes.
Oh. Did you have anything to do with building 4 Jefferson Crossing?
Yes.
You did some of the framing?
I'm allergic to him.
So you would have met did Mrs. Dulos have input in the construction of that house at all?
Can you explain?
Yes, did she have any input, any say in how the house was going to look or what was going to be in what rooms and whatnot?
Happy anniversary.
I don't recall it, no.
But you did meet her even while you were building that house?
I believe I met her before that.
Even before that, okay.
Happy anniversary, Jody. All good. I'm allergic to him. You see this? I'm sneezing.
Now, I know that Mr. McGinnis asked you about the leaking oil from the Tacoma. You could see that the garage of the house at 4 Jefferson was getting stained by dripping oil, couldn't you? From your truck.
I'm assuming yes, but I don't recall seeing it.
But you didn't dispute the fact when he said, listen, when you move your truck, it's, because you knew it was leaking oil, right?
He told me if we could move the truck, but he didn't mention the oil.
But you believed it was because of the oil staining his
assume
garage,
yes.
right? Right.
I assume that, yes.
Okay. You also, wasn't it also true that the shock absorbers were gone in that truck?
Yes.
So it was not a very reliable vehicle, was it?
Not at all.
You told, I think yesterday, you said it wouldn't even start sometimes, right?
Correct.
You had some kind of technique where you used your house key to run it against the ignition?
Yes.
In order to make it start sometimes, right?
Correct.
You didn't show anyone else how to do that, did you?
I don't recall it, no.
That was your own sort of home fix, right?
Yes.
For it. Okay. In fact, you at one point told the police when they suggested that your truck was being driven down to New Canaan that it wasn't a reliable vehicle at all to go that far. Didn't you tell them that?
Yes.
We just saw a video before I got up this morning of you driving on May 23rd with the Tacoma over to 80 Mountain Spring Road. You remember seeing those videos from across the street at 77?
I wasn't driving the Tacoma May 23rd, no.
Didn't we just see a picture of the Tacoma and the Raptor being driven down there?
That was Dulos driving the Tacoma.
Oh, and you were driving the Raptor?
Yes.
All right, and he pulled in with the Raptor, he pulled in with the Tacoma at 80 Mountain Spring, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is the night before. This is that Thursday night. So this is when they're leaving the Tacoma at the workhouse, and Powell's taking the Raptor back home so that the Tacoma is left at the workhouse, and that's what Fotis drives the next day.
You pulled in right behind him.
Correct.
The driveway, by the way, wasn't asphalt at 80 Mountain Spring, was it?
No.
It was gravel, right?
It was peachstone, I believe.
What is it called?
Peachstone.
But that's not like paving blocks, right? It's some kind of rock, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's absorbent, right?
Yeah.
There's no pool of oil would form on the on that whatever you just peat stone. I don't know what it is.
I don't remember the exact name, but
It's like a crushed stone, maybe of some sort.
washstone, more like washstone than crushed stone.
I'm not understanding. Quartz.
More like a washstone.
Washstone. So it's white rocks.
Rum instead of
Got it. Crushed up.
crushed stone. It's
Crushed
sharp.
stone. Okay.
Look at the judge. I love this judge.
And he turned the car. You said he turned the truck, made backed it up, and so it was facing out.
Correct.
And I'm not going to put it back up again, but we saw the picture of the part of the garage and the parking lot. The Tacoma was parked to the right of that photograph. It was sort of out of range of what the image showed us.
Correct.
The Raptor, where did he park that? Where did you park that?
I don't remember how I turned around there.
By the way, even though Fotis drove the Tacoma down that with you behind him in the Raptor, is there a reason why you didn't drive your own truck? That day, May 23rd? Yeah.
No.
In fact, I wanted to clarify. You don't remember specifically with the jury that it was May 23rd, the day before, right? Is that a fair statement? You don't recall?
Yes.
I don't recall.
Do you recall that Fotis Dulos had a visit with his children on the Wednesday, the 22nd? So he was down there in the afternoon. Does that ring a bell?
No.
You don't remember that?
What was 22nd?
That would be a Wednesday.
What was the event?
It must have been, what, Thursday? I'm just trying to focus on what day you were being. We just watched the video of the truck being driven down there from May 23rd. So is that the day, to clarify, that he asked you to move the truck down there?
Yes.
You also remember seeing Stefan Reich and his girlfriend arriving for a dinner at the house, correct?
Yes.
You said hello to them, right?
I did. I remember speaking with Stefan. I don't remember speaking with his girlfriend.
You remember his girlfriend, Beth?
Yes, I don't remember speaking with her on that day.
Okay, but you remember seeing her?
No, I don't.
I'm sorry?
I don't recall seeing her.
You remember seeing Stefan?
Yes.
And you had some friendly conversation with him?
Yes.
He told you they were going to have dinner at the house that evening?
Yes.
And the time that we see the Ford, the Raptor and the Tacoma pulling into 80 Mountain Spring was right, I'm sorry, let me withdraw that question. The time we see the two of you in the Raptor driving back up to Fort Jefferson Crossing that night, you went directly back to Fort Jefferson Crossing, right?
From 80 Mountain Spring Road?
From 80 Mountain Spring.
I don't remember. I don't deny it.
Did you drop off Mr. Dulos at the house and take the Raptor?
Yes.
Okay, so does that refresh your memory that you were driving?
The Raptor?
The Raptor.
Yes.
Okay. I also want to ask you, you were asked some questions about the wanting to sell the Tacoma. Do you remember those questions by Mr. McGinnis yesterday?
Yes, I do.
You were wanting to sell that Tacoma for a while. Isn't that true?
Correct.
And you, in fact, had been researching on Craigslist for used Tacomas. Isn't that true?
It is.
And it had been going on for at least a month that you've been looking, right?
More than that.
More than that. You also know that when the police took your phone, they downloaded all your searches, correct?
Possible, yes.
All right. So I'm going to let me speak with counsel for a second.
This is what you need.
Yeah.
Okay. Judge, I have no objection. There was the one photograph which was displayed, which I objected to, but the court received it into evidence. The balance of that disc, I don't have an objection to.
So as for Exhibit Y as a full exhibit?
Defense Y admitted as full.
So he's
I'm
looking.
going to show you a group of images one at a time, and just I'll ask you something about it at the end, but I'm going to show you a bunch of images from the search. So if you would, if I could just have the first one, please. You can turn around. It's easier maybe if you want to look behind you. If you want, you can see it there. So you see that you were searching for a used Tacoma on May 1st, 2019.
That's a history from my phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one. You see the date? May 5th?
Yes, I do.
That was a used silver Tacoma that you were looking at?
Yes.
All right, next one, please. So this is, what's that say, May 14th? It's a little blurrier than the other one. Yeah, May 14th?
Correct.
Okay, and this looks like, what, an older model?
Yes.
All right, you were looking at that one?
Don't recall it.
All right.
I don't deny it. It's on my phone.
Sure, next one, please. Could you zoom in, please, right here? May 18th, you were looking at one?
Okay, get to it. Yes, he's searching for trucks to buy.
Okay,
He
right.
wanted to replace his Tacoma.
Metro, next one, please.
Come on.
One that was,
Come on.
for
God,
certain, we're
this
seeking
guy.
to replace your Tacoma, weren't you? Didn't you? I mean?
I did.
The whole month of May. Got it. Keep going. Move on. He annoys me so much. I feel like he's a time waster, and I think that's why I get annoyed.
Generally, except for holidays, you did work Monday through Friday, is that right?
Correct.
And your routine was, if you were going to a job site, you would not take your own vehicle because of that it wasn't reliable, correct?
If it was not in Farmington area.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it was a local job, you might go right from home to the job site, right?
Correct.
And there were a lot of actually, right on Mountain Spring Road, there have been mention of other addresses. There were a lot of lots that Ford Group owned that they were marketing and planning on building houses on, right?
Correct.
In fact, you still live in that area, right?
Correct.
A lot of those houses have since been built, even after the death of Fotis Dulos, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, even after a lot of those houses that were for sale back then, or lots rather, houses have been built on them. So now it's all built up, and it wasn't back then, right? 2019.
I don't disagree. I just don't have a recollection of seeing a lot prior and after being built a house.
I take it since all of this, certainly after you left Ford Group, you don't travel a lot on Eli Road or Deer Cliff Road?
I do.
You do? And you haven't noticed a lot of houses being built on the Eli Road side of that mountain?
Which side of the road are you talking about?
Coming towards Farmington.
So I'm just going to object on relevance grounds. Additional counsel is testifying at this point.
I'll withdraw the question.
Thank you.
Let me just go back for a minute. We talked about the power line trail, and I forgot to ask you this question. The power lines stay on the West Hartford side of that mountain, don't they?
I think it's yeah.
And there are also regular hiking trails in the water company MDC property, aren't there?
No, not aware of this. I never go hiking there.
You've never noticed if there are, right?
Don't recall it, no.
You ever notice any blue squares on trees for people to hike through that area, so there's ways to cut across and whatnot?
If I was there on the dirt bike, I wouldn't pay attention to that.
Because you wouldn't go on those trails, right?
And also go fast.
A lot of trees down, logs, rocks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But you would often take a Ford Group vehicle home on the weekend rather than take your Tacoma, right?
Often?
Yeah, often, like many times.
On the weekend?
Yeah.
Very rare.
Rarely. But it wasn't unusual for you to do that, was it?
Very rare. I think it's what to say.
By the way, when you had mentioned the lawyer for Mr. Dulos calling you at one point, remember that testimony yesterday?
Which
Or
one?
no?
Which lawyer?
Yesterday. Well, you couldn't remember his name. One of Mr. Dulos' lawyers called you back in May of 2019 or early June, didn't he?
I don't remember, no.
You don't remember? You didn't say this yesterday?
Well, counsel, you can use leading questions. It's crossed.
All right. Didn't you testify yesterday that one of Mr. Dulos' called you and suggested that you might need your own lawyer because of your immigration status? Remember saying that yesterday?
I believe I said Dulos told me that.
Not one of his lawyers?
I don't recall it.
In any event, the police did say things to you about, made you concerned about your immigration status, didn't they?
I don't recall it, no.
You don't recall that? Don't you remember the police saying to you words to the effect of that if they wanted to really mess with your green card, they could just make a phone call?
Yes.
But they said that's not what they were looking to have happen,
I was
right?
going to object, Your Honor, calls for speculation as to what other people were looking to have happen.
This is what was said to the witness.
Well, if the representation is that the police later said after that they are not looking for that to happen, then the court will allow it.
Yes.
They did say that to you.
Okay, I would just like to point out with Lindsay Hendricks' poll, right now, the vast majority of you would rather take your chances with Letitia and a monster can than to have to spend 3 hours with this guy in a car.
So, were you nervous about them bringing up your green card status?
At least with the monster can, you have the option, there's a chance you could be knocked out and not have to deal with it. So at least there's that.
Yes.
You weren't a U.S. citizen, were you?
No.
Are you now?
Yes.
That's happened since 2019, correct?
Correct.
If you had been arrested for anything, you knew you could have been deported, right?
Correct.
And you lived here for what, 20 years at that point? 19 years?
19 years.
And you were concerned, right?
Correct.
Be like, please knock me out. Please knock me out. Y'all crack me up.
I'm going to ask you now about a trip that you took up to the Litchfield State Police Barracks on June 12, 2019. Do you recall going there?
Yes.
You thought you were going to pick up your truck then, didn't you?
Yes.
In fact, when did you pick up your truck, ever?
Didn't.
You never got it back, right? Were you ever compensated for it? They just kept it, right?
Correct.
So you went up there on around June 12th to get it, thinking they were going to give it back to you, right?
That was my understanding, yes.
But in fact, you went up there with an oil can, didn't you?
Correct.
I'm going to show the witness. Oh, is it not? No. Exhibit Y. Yeah, you just put that. It's called oil can 2. Just look at the image that's up on the screen.
Yes.
All right. Now, do you recall being in the state police in an interrogation room on June 12, 2019?
Yes.
And that's you sitting there with, I guess those are sunglasses on your forehead?
Yes.
And the person in the foreground there with the large arms and the, I don't know if that's a hood or whatever it is behind his head there, that's one of the state police officers, right?
I believe so, yes.
And could you tell the jury, you see the date and the time, right? Was that the time you were there, 11:15 in the morning?
If the camera time is correct, yes.
Okay, and what is that in your left hand on the table that we see in this image?
It's oil can.
That was the oil can you brought because if you were going to take your vehicle, it would have probably drained out unless you put in oil, right?
I was planning on being very safe and sorry, so I took some oil with me, yes.
You had to put in a lot of oil because you knew it had been dripping, right?
Yeah.
And they started questioning you, right? That day?
Yes.
They told you you weren't getting your truck back, correct?
Correct.
And that's when you told them you wanted to have your attorney present for any further questioning, right?
Yeah.
And so they stopped the interview at that time, right? They stopped it.
Yes.
At your request.
I was trying to call my attorney and I couldn't get hold of him, so.
Well, he didn't answer, or was it that this particular location in Litchfield had lousy cell service?
I don't remember. I remember I couldn't get hold of him.
Okay. And if you couldn't reach him, then you weren't going to talk to him, right?
Yes.
Okay. You'd already met with Attorney Urzo before that, right?
I don't remember when I met with him first time.
Your Honor, I'm going to, well, if this could be a place to stop, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll stand in our lunch.
Lunch break. Let me get. The afternoon pulled up. Trial day 19. Afternoon.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you.
May I proceed?
Yes.
May I proceed?
When we left off, I asked you about the going up to Litchfield on June 12th. There was a short interview that was cut short that day, correct? That's correct.
Oh,
then
I meant to say too. There was something. Hold on. I bookmarked it. I think it was this same day. The reporter from News 12 Connecticut talked to. Let me find it. talk to Pavel's attorney. Here it is. Okay. Pavel Gumieni's attorney, Lindy Urso, spoke with us outside the courthouse about his client. Here's some of what he said. He was adamant that his client had nothing to do with Jennifer Dulos' disappearance. Quote, look, he went in there and talked to the police before he hired me, before he had the immunity agreement. He talked to the police even after he hired me against advice. So his attorney actually told him, don't talk to the police anymore, and he still was talking to him like, I have nothing to hide, is what he said earlier. Regarding how the past 2 days have been for Pavel, he said, it's been very difficult. The whole thing's been very difficult the last 5 years. I think the last 2 days are sort of mixed because he hates the spotlight. He's a very private individual. But by the same token, we're here now, and this is the beginning of the end of the circus for him so he can get back to his life. So that's what his attorney said.
And you met with the police again on July 12th of 2019, correct?
I believe so, yes.
That's the 8-hour interview, right?
Yes.
That took place in a police station?
I believe so, yes.
Do you remember which one it was?
I don't.
In between, you had met with your attorney?
Yes.
You also saw Fotis Dulos in that month, right?
No.
When's the last time you saw Fotis Dulos?
We've got about an hour before I have to leave. So whatever we don't finish from today, we'll finish tomorrow. I have more time tomorrow. We'll do it about the same time tomorrow, about 10:30 Central, so 11:30 Eastern. Super Bowl doesn't come on till later, so we'll have plenty of time.
The last time I spoke with him in person was a week after Jennifer disappeared, that Friday.
But you knew he moved back into Fort Jefferson Crossing, right?
I don't know when, but at some point, yes.
You knew he was there, right?
Yeah.
But you know Michelle Troconis was no longer there, right?
Yes.
Did you resign from Ford Group at that point?
My last day of work was that Friday when I saw him.
Did you say, I quit?
I think I told him that on the phone. How was it? No. That week when he got arrested, I just didn't show up to work.
Did you apply for unemployment?
Yes.
Did you claim you'd been fired?
No.
Did you fill out a form and say you had resigned?
I don't remember how the form was. I think there was something like temporary shutdown or something like that.
But that wasn't true, was it?
Well, he wasn't there, so I couldn't work.
Well, he continued operating the Ford Group, didn't he?
I don't know.
You recall that your July 12th interview took place in Bridgeport at the State Police Barracks. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
You went down there with your attorney, right?
Yes.
You met with the, was it the state police at that point?
Yeah, I believe so.
There were more than one detective interviewing you, correct?
Correct.
And they again wanted to go into detail on your whereabouts on May 24th, 2019, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, they wanted to go into detail with you about your whereabouts on May 24th, 2019, correct?
Correct.
You had, at that point, difficulty in remembering some of the details that you had been involved in on that May 24th. Isn't that true?
It is.
And you told the police it was because, for you, May 24th was another day just like every other day, right?
Correct.
And the police, however, weren't having that with you, were they? They were contradicting you.
Just going to object, Your Honor, to the form of the question.
Well, sustained.
They didn't believe you. They told you they didn't believe you, right?
I know one of the detectives at some point said to me that makes sense.
Didn't they say to you, that day should be pretty clear to you by now, man? Isn't that what they said to you?
I'm going to object, Judge. That,
Well,
if counsel is going to paraphrase, then he should just state
It's
what he
a
actually
quote.
said.
Well, what we're not going to countenance is counsel talking over each other. Well, the question is, essentially, the actual question is, did you think that the police did not believe you?
Oops.
That's the actual question. To ask, they didn't believe you.
Oh, Dr. get to 5 memberships. Thank you.
So sustained.
Didn't they tell you that they didn't believe you?
Just object, Judge.
Brown.
Is counsel, my concern, Your Honor, is that counsel is presenting these as direct quotes, and I think it would be best to use the actual transcript as opposed to paraphrase.
Well, before we even get to that point, the witness can say no. This isn't impeachment yet because it does not appear to be impeachment based on a prior inconsistent statement. Counsel is just asking what the police said. The witness can say, yes, they said that. No, they didn't say that. I don't remember. Overruled.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Didn't they tell you, they didn't believe you didn't know what you did on May 24th?
I don't remember them saying they don't believe me.
Didn't they tell you it should be clear to you what you did on that day?
Yes.
And did you say to them, I didn't pay attention? Isn't that what you said?
Yes.
You do recall telling the police, though, that Mr. Dulos informed you that he had an appointment with his lawyer on the morning of May 24th, right?
Correct.
And he told you that the day before on the 23rd, correct?
Correct.
You indicated to them, you told them you were in New Canaan the entire day, right?
Judge, I'm going to object to the form of these questions. He's asking him what he said in this interview. He should pose the question, and only if there's an inconsistency should he then ask a more direct question about what Mr. Gumini said on a previous occasion.
What counsel is doing is going through the entire or significant portions of a transcript, just reiterating the questions that were asked and the questions that were answered. The basis of using the transcript is for impeachment. This is the court does not know what the purpose of asking the witness is of every question that was asked and every answer that was given.
Thank you.
That's not impeachment.
Why are we going through every question that was asked and every question that
So the
was
court is going
answered?
to sustain the objection because it's an attempt to, it's not even an attempt to impeach. It's just a rehearsal of what happened. And that's basically a waste of time.
Thank you.
Sustained.
Thank you.
You claim in this courtroom
Waste of time.
the other day that you
Thank
went down to
you.
New Canaan, you were there all day, right?
Oh, hallelujah.
That I was there from before 10 a.m. to around 2:30 p.m.
You claimed you were at the house on Sturbridge Hill Road that entire time once you arrived there, correct?
Correct.
Julie Martin.
You said you went there directly from your house in Simsbury, correct?
Correct.
You didn't stop at Fort Jefferson Crossing, did you?
I did.
When it's not rush hour, it takes you from your home to get down to New Canaan back then. If there isn't traffic, what, about an hour and a quarter, maybe? Is that about right?
About an hour and 30 minutes at least.
But you weren't there all day, were you? Till 2:30.
Other than leaving for lunch around 12, that I'm not sure of, I would be there.
Did you come back from lunch and go back to Sturbridge Hill?
Come back from lunch and go back to Sturbridge Hill?
Yeah, you said you left for lunch.
It's possible. I'm not sure.
What time did you leave for lunch?
It could have been, I couldn't recover that day, so it could have been between 12 and 1.
Every day for you was about the same in terms of when you were down there, taking a lunch?
Sometimes I would bring my own lunch and just have it at the job site.
Well, how about that day, May 24th? Where did you go for lunch?
I said to the investigators that it's possible that I went for lunch to a Chinese restaurant.
Did you name that Chinese restaurant for them?
I believe I sent them the address at some point.
The police told you that there was surveillance video from
They
across
can
the
take all
street. That's from 61 Sturbridge Hill Road, didn't they?
They mentioned that to me, yes.
There was a house right across the street from where the one that we were building, right?
I was never shown that.
That's not my question. My question is, was there a house across the street from 61 Sturbridge Hill Road?
Yes.
People were living there, right? It was a finished house.
Yes.
Oh, this guy.
The police told you that they had video cameras, Ring doorbell cameras from across the street, right?
Judge, I object. Hearsay, going through the
No,
transcript
Ken,
again.
this is just a repeat of the interview. It's a waste of time. If it's not
This is
impeachment, if it's not impeachment,
It is impeachment.
it is not impeachment because you're not indicating that he testified as to one version of events on one day and today is saying something else. So it's not impeachment. It's not an impeachment by a prior inconsistent statement.
That wasn't the
You
purpose.
are reading a transcript.
First of all, Your Honor, I'm reading from my notes. I'm not reading from a transcript. Number two, there are other ways to impeach a witness besides prior inconsistent statements.
Well, the court has not heard it. Sustained.
He's getting snippy with the judge now. Don't talk to our judge like that.
You were not there on the 24th of May, 2019 with a Ford Group vehicle, were you?
Meaning where?
At 61 Sturbridge Hill Road.
At May 24, 2019?
Right, in the afternoon. You weren't there at all.
I was there from around 10 to 3 o'clock. I left around 2 or 3 o'clock.
You were there, you left, you said at 2 or 3?
Yes.
And you went out for lunch to a Chinese restaurant, or you don't know?
Prior to leaving for the day.
So not at 12 or 1 that day?
Between 12 and 1, to my best guess.
And then you said you came back, right?
Correct.
Right, well, I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit AA. And before I show you that, let me just ask you a question. When you parked at 61 Sturbridge Hill Road, you always parked at the same place in the driveway closer to the road, correct? by the garage.
By the garage, yes.
Right, if you were pulling into that driveway, it was the right-hand garage, right?
Yes.
And you parked not in the garage, but in front of the garage, right?
Yes.
And you could see the street from where you parked, right?
Right?
Possible.
Right?
And you could see there was a house across the street, right?
Right?
Yes.
And that's the house that the police said to you, how can you explain that there is not, I'm sorry, I haven't asked my question yet.
Well, I object to the argument.
Well, first of all, the question was, that's the house the police said to you. And what's the objection, Counsel?
My objection, Your Honor, is the same objection that I made earlier, which is number one, it's hearsay. Number two, it's improper impeachment.
Well, the court does not know what the question will be.
And it's not being offered for the truth, it's being offered to show that he responded to that question.
Well,
Oh, dang.
again, the run-up to the questions appear to this court to be a waste of time. The questions can be asked directly.
Waste of time.
Did the police tell you X? And what was your response? And what was their response? So the court is going to overrule the objections.
Waste of time.
Do you recall the police saying to you that you couldn't explain, or how to explain the fact that you're not seen on video from across the street? Didn't they tell you that?
No.
They did not. Right. I'm going to show you what I believe is being offered without objection, AA.
That's correct, Judge. No objection.
Defense, AA admitted as well.
So you were there on days prior to May 20. You were there during that entire week of May 24th, correct?
I don't remember if I was there every day, but I'm sure I was there some days.
Right. You were there on May 19th?
I don't remember.
All right. Well, I'm going to show you a short clip, if I can, please. If you could look on the screen. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So could you freeze it and enlarge it, please? Now, do you see, before we even enlarge it, do you recognize this house across the street from this video?
Getting sassy with our judge.
I don't see it clearly what the house is.
You don't see the house? That's not 61 Sturbridge Hill Road?
So the response was, I cannot see clearly what the house is.
All right. Could I have it enlarged, please, that area?
Yes, it looks like 61 Sturbridge, yes.
And I see a vehicle parked in the driveway. This won't work. Okay. Do you see the white vehicle where the cursor is right there?
Yes.
That's the white Cherokee that's owned by the Ford Group, isn't it?
I don't know if that's the Cherokee.
Were you driving any other white SUV when you were down at 61
I
Sturbridge Hill Road?
object, Judge. The misstates the testimony entirely.
Well, the witness can't identify what counsel has identified as the white Cherokee.
Is that where you parked?
This is where I would normally park, yes.
But you're not agreeing that that's the vehicle you drove to 61 Sturbridge Hill Road on May 19th, 2019?
He said he can't tell.
May 19, I would be driving Raptor, I believe.
Your testimony would have been the Raptor and not this vehicle right there, right?
I believe I had that Raptor for two weeks prior.
Right. Could you show the witness, please, May 24th, please? This is from 1 p.m. on May 24th. Is there any vehicle parked there at 1 p.m. on 61 Sturbridge Hill Road?
I don't see any.
But the car that you would bring there was always visible from the road. Isn't that true?
Thank you,
Yes.
Bobby.
When the police told you that there was no video of you in the afternoon at Sturbridge Hill Road, you had no answer for them, did you?
Judge, I'm just going to object again. This is improper impeachment.
Well, the question is, really a number of questions. The police talked to you about where you were on a certain date. You said you were here. They told you you weren't there. And you responded nothing. I mean, that's how the question breaks down. So the court will allow it.
Right?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. When the police pointed out that there was no way to document that you were there because there was no video of you and asked you to explain it, you couldn't explain it, could you?
I don't recall them saying to me that there was no video of me.
You don't recall them saying that to you? Let's have a moment. Would watching a short clip from your interrogation on July 12th be helpful in refreshing your memory?
Yes.
Could I play then? I'm just going to show
Well, Judge, respectfully, I think that the state is entitled to inspect whatever clip they're going to play before it's
Yes.
presented to the jury. And as a matter of fact, refresh recollection is generally not to be published to the jury. So,
Well, the clip is going to be played on Mr. Lemeni's monitor.
understood, Judge, but the sound will be audible. I would just like the opportunity to inspect the clip as I would any other exhibit.
That's appropriate.
That's appropriate. Can you not find it? Wait, he made this big build up to this one moment and now he can't find it? He made this huge deal about this moment, like he was like, oh, well, let me just show you, and now he doesn't know where it's at. 80s Music Man has started to sing
specific
along.
place, so I'm going to move on.
He really couldn't. Hold on.
Your Honor, I don't want to take up any more time looking for the specific place, so I'm going to move on.
He made that huge deal about it and then spent all that time looking for it, and then now he's like, oh, well, I can't find it, so we'll just move on.
You testified that you sent a text to Fotis Dulos on 2/12. Is that right?
I don't remember the specific time. I remember I was texting him, yes.
Your claim, though, that you were still at Sturbridge Hill Road at 2:12 in the afternoon when you sent that text?
He didn't find it.
Possible, yes.
Well, anything's possible. In fact, didn't you leave at 12:30 and not come back?
Yes, I think so.
You went somewhere else in New Canaan that afternoon, right?
At what time?
After you left Sturbridge Hill Road.
At what time?
I'm asking you.
It's possible that I went for lunch.
And then didn't go back to the house.
I think I'd come back.
You said you had the Raptor that day, is that correct?
Yes.
If I show you a document that pinpoints the location of the, allegedly pinpoints the location of the Raptor, might that refresh your recollection?
Judge, I'm going to object. He didn't indicate any of his recollection refreshed. He said he thinks he came back. So I think this is improper.
Well, the question has to be asked in such a way that there's no confusion as to whether he's saying he does not remember whether he came back or he believes he did come back.
And I'd also like to be heard on this exhibit at a certain point, also perhaps at sidebar.
Well, the court does not know what the exhibit is.
I understand. I just wanted, if it would be all right, we just have a brief sidebar, Judge.
Yes.
Oh, Lord of mercy. Lord of mercy. This guy.
Would showing you the document perhaps help you recall what time you left 61 Sturbridge Hill Road in the Raptor that day?
I think so.
All right, I'm going to mark this front D. May I approach?
Yes.
Showing you what has been marked for BB for identification. Just going to ask you to look at it and see if that refreshes your recollection as to what time you left 61 Sturbridge Hill Road on May 24th, 2019.
Look at him rolling his eyes. Did you see? Hold on. Look.
61 Sturbridge Hill Road.
Look. He's got his... Can you look and see what... That's hilarious. He is sassy.
Yeah, so 9:53 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Sturbridge Hill Road. And so
Did that refresh your recollection?
Yeah, so that could have been when I left for lunch.
But your claim is that you came back? Or you don't recall?
I believe I did.
But you're not sure?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not sure, no.
What did you have for lunch at that Chinese restaurant?
I don't remember.
Oh, my gosh.
What did the person who served you look like?
Oh, my gosh.
I don't remember.
Did you do anything else while you were down in New Canaan on May 24th, 2019 in the afternoon?
I believe I was just working at the house and possibly went for lunch and came back.
You didn't go anywhere else?
No reason.
What street was this Chinese restaurant on?
He just asked him what he ordered for lunch 5 years ago and what his server looked like 5 years ago.
I don't remember.
Remember, did you ever go there before?
Yes.
Do you remember the name of it? You were at the Shell station in, I think it was a Shell station, you said in Farmington at 4:33, according to that exhibit?
Yes.
That's when you paid for your gas, right?
Yes.
So you filled up the tank?
Yes.
We have been through the... Oh
Then, as I understand it, you went to 585 first to get to pick up that 2x10?
I went to Fort Jefferson first.
You went to Fort Jefferson. You saw a phone sitting in a cradle, right? A charging phone, cradle, whatever, right?
Yes.
And you recognize that was Fotis's charging cradle, right?
I'm not sure whose phone was it.
Did you try calling the phone?
No.
But you noticed that there was a phone in the cradle, right?
Correct.
So when you tried calling Fotis, he didn't answer, right?
I tried to call Fotis when I was outside, so I couldn't see if that particular phone was ringing.
Or even was on silent. You don't even know that, right?
No.
But in any event, when you went in, you saw a phone in the cradle, right?
Yeah.
You went upstairs to the office to look for the keys.
Yes.
You didn't see the keys there, right? So then you went to 585 Deercliff, right?
Correct.
From Fort Jefferson, right?
Correct.
And how far was the intersection of Jefferson Crossing to 585 Deercliff?
I couldn't tell you. It's a short distance, driving distance.
585, just so we're clear, is on the left side of Deercliff as you're heading north, right?
Correct.
That's one of these houses. It was in bad shape, right? It was all broken up, correct? From damage?
It wasn't damaged. It was just an old house.
But it wasn't occupied, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Melissa's like...
Correct?
Correct.
But it had nice views down the valley on that side of the street, right?
On the opposite side of the street, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean from that house. You've been in that house, right?
Correct.
So what I'm trying to do is orient, Jefferson Crossing doesn't have views of the valley, does it?
No.
It has views. So as you went to that 585, there was a 2x10, you said, just one?
One that I needed. It could have been more.
And that was in the garage?
I believe so, yes.
And you put it in the back of the Raptor, right?
Correct.
And from there you went down to 80 Mountain Spring Road, right?
Correct.
Why would you bring the 2x10 down to 80 Mountain Spring Road?
I believe my initial thought was to try to load the dirt bike on the Raptor since I didn't have a key for the Tacoma. So my initial thought was to go back to Fort Jefferson.
But you didn't do that.
No.
So did you assume that
I just
Fotis would be at 80?
I just took a ride to 80 to see
See what?
if he's there or maybe the key's in the truck.
So you assumed he might be there.
Just went there to see.
You did know there was a showing of that house the next day, didn't you?
No.
You didn't know that?
No.
You also said that yesterday that you never saw Michelle do any cleaning before of any of the houses that were completed. Is that what you said yesterday?
I don't recall saying that yesterday.
Well, because I just want to be clear. There was an occasion when if there was going to be a showing or a bunch of houses, a bunch of realtors were going to come, everyone might pitch in and do a little bit of cleaning up, dusting and stuff like that, right?
I don't recall a situation like that, no.
Have you ever done that?
At 80 Mountain Spring Road?
No, not at 80, at any location.
Yeah, I'm sure I've done some cleaning.
Andy Loomis had done it?
Possibly.
Guillaume?
Possibly.
And Michelle, right?
I don't recall ever seeing Michelle doing that.
So we saw the video of you arriving at 80 Mountain Spring Road, correct? Shows you driving it? Did you see that?
What?
Into 80 Mountain Spring on the afternoon of the 24th, in the Raptor.
Yes.
And you said that they were surprised to see you, but then everything right after that was normal, right?
Correct.
So you didn't make any plans to see Fotis down at 80 Mountain Spring, did you?
No.
And when you're acting completely normal,
No.
you didn't see any towels or bed covers?
No.
By the way, it was still light out on this date, right? Right before Memorial Day weekend?
Around 5 o'clock, I would assume, yes.
Yeah, and
Flash
it was Memorial Day weekend, and you were planning on celebrating, I guess, was it the next day? When was it? When was your wife's birthday? Was it the next day or the following week?
Where, you mean when the event was?
The event, yeah.
Saturday.
The next day?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Are we buffering?
the next day?
Oops. Is it still?
By the way, down at 80 Mountain Spring when you got there, you never went inside, right?
Correct.
You didn't think it was even, if there was, you didn't know there was a showing at that house, right?
I don't recall knowing of a showing next day.
It wasn't your project, correct?
Correct.
It was whose?
Andy Loomis.
You don't know what arrangements then he had made to show that house, right?
I'm just going to object, Your Honor. Cumulatively indicated he didn't know.
Well,
This is a different question.
well, at this point, it's not relevant because the initial question was, you did not know that there was going to be a showing. So to follow up with that as to who was going to be the project manager or who was going to be involved in the showing is a waste of time.
Waste of time.
Sustained.
I love it when he says waste of time.
From your experience, after a house was completed, there was still a lot of dust in those finished houses before they were sold, correct?
Correct.
In fact, the duct system would actually spread dust around the house if it had an air system, right?
Correct.
So whenever you went in these houses, if they were unoccupied, there might be a little surface dust on various items, right?
Correct.
On the countertops, right?
Correct.
On the floor, maybe in the sink, right?
Correct.
Windows, dust, right?
Yes.
Incidentally, it wasn't unusual for Fotis to take a hands-on approach to do cleaning, was it?
I've seen him done it, yes.
In other words, he wasn't one of these hands-off guys that wore white gloves and let everyone else do the work and he just sat in his office, right? He would show up at job sites, correct?
Correct.
He'd help out if need be, right?
Correct.
In fact, if I recall your testimony, Fotis and you walked around the property to look how the grass was growing in from you seeding it, right?
Correct.
So you actually did some work at 80 Mountain Spring Road, right?
Correct.
Even though it wasn't your project, correct?
Correct.
Did you do the whole, I mean, we saw that satellite picture. Did you do the whole lawn yourself?
I don't remember how much of it I did. I'm pretty sure I did around the house, but if the side and the lower yard I did it, I don't recall it.
Did you we see in that image, there's pink tape along the sides of the driveway in that image we watched a little bit ago, remember?
Yes.
And was that to keep people from driving on the lawn and keeping them right on that crushed stone driveway?
I believe Dulos put this up.
He put it up. Weren't you sort of with him checking it out to make sure it was not going to blow down or fall down?
Yes.
We watched those videos. It was pretty windy that day, wasn't it?
Yes.
We see all those trees blowing just in those clips, right? Yes?
Correct.
By the way, you knew that Mr. Dulos had a housekeeper, a house cleaner for his house, right? For Fort Jefferson?
Yes.
You knew her, Renata, right?
I met her, yes.
More than that, you spoke Polish with her, didn't you?
Yes.
She was from Poland? You were from Poland, right?
Correct.
So you knew who she was?
I knew her name is Renata and she's cleaning houses. I didn't know her personally.
You never saw Fotis have Renata cleaning any of these houses that he was building, did you?
Not Renata, no.
Not what?
Not Renata, no.
Whether you knew there was a showing or not, you did know that that house was for sale, right?
Correct.
You knew there was one of these large four-group advertisement signs and a for sale sign, right?
Correct.
Were you over in the office when inquiries were coming in about that house for sale, 80 Mountain Spring?
I don't recall it.
Then when we watched that video, I just want to be clear. You drove out in the Raptor first, correct? This is on May 23rd. I'm sorry, withdrawn. That was May 24th. You left in the Raptor, Fotis left in the Suburban, and Michelle left in the Jeep, correct?
I left in Raptor, and I know they left in those two cars. I believe Fotis left in the Suburban.
Right, Fotis left in the Suburban, and Michelle left in the Jeep, right?
I believe, yes.
Didn't we just watch that this morning? Didn't you just go through that?
Well, I
with
object,
Well,
Your
the
Honor,
question,
to that
didn't we
question.
watch it this morning, is not probative. Sustained.
Do you recall that we watched it? We saw it this morning.
Judge, I
Same
object.
question. Sustained.
All three of you left within moments of each other, correct?
Correct.
You then drove back to Fort Jefferson with Fotis right behind you, correct?
No.
Where did you go?
585.
You went to 585. You still had this 2x10 in the back of the truck, right?
Correct.
Why didn't you bring the 2x10 to Fort Jefferson Crossing?
Because I was going to go right back to 80 Mountain Spring Road to get my truck and park my truck at 585 Dirklet, and Fotis Dulos was going to pick me up.
Why bring the 2x10 with you at all in the Raptor?
You mean when I left Fort Jefferson?
No, when you left, when you left Fort Jefferson.
I just explained that earlier.
Well, you explained it, but I'm not understanding. You went and got the 2x10 at 585, right?
Correct.
You put it in the Raptor, correct? Not in your vehicle.
Correct.
Why didn't you then move the 2x10 into the Raptor, into the Tacoma, since that's what your plan was?
At what point?
At any point.
I don't know. That is just what I did.
You left the 2x10 in the Raptor, driving it back to Fort Jefferson Crossing.
Driving back to 585 District.
But your Tacoma was still down at 80 Mountain Spring.
Yes.
Is there a reason for that?
No reason.
No reason. You just wanted to carry the 2x10 in the back of the
It
truck.
was just there, so
It was
I
just
didn't
there. What
take it.
kind of question is this?
So I just want to be clear,
Oh
when you
my
went to 80 Mountain
gosh.
Spring Road, you did not put anything in the back of the Raptor, right?
Like, that's the equivalent of saying, like, so you had, your an extra pair of shoes in the truck, so you didn't take them out? So you just wanted to ride around with them? No, it was there. He already said why it was there. He's making no sense, and he's wasting time, and he's driving me nuts.
At 80 Mountain Spring Road?
Yeah.
No.
You had already put that 2x10 in the back, correct?
He's already been over this
585.
multiple times.
You had put in, but it was still in the Raptor when you were down at 80 Mountain Spring, right?
Correct.
And it was sticking out past the back of the Raptor, right?
Correct.
It was taking up a fair amount of room, wasn't it?
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
You didn't see Fotis Dulos put anything in the back of the Raptor while you were down at 80 Mountain Spring, did you?
I didn't.
Excuse me?
I didn't.
You didn't see Michelle Troconis put anything in the back of the Raptor either, did you?
I didn't.
Yeah, that's why he said he uses it as a ramp to get the dirt bike on the back of the truck. Like, he's been over this.
When Michelle, you and Fotis Dulos left 80 Mountain Spring, you had indicated yesterday that Michelle told you that she had to go drop off or pick up rugs. Is that correct?
Correct.
And just so we're clear, she had indicated that she was picking up rugs, right?
Oh
I
my
don't recall if
gosh.
she said picking up or dropping off or meeting with someone in regards of rugs, yes.
You know that she had this interior decoration side business where she sold rugs, correct?
Yes, I heard of that before.
I'm sorry?
I heard of that before, yes.
And you had actually seen some of them. They were on display sometimes at the Ford Group offices, weren't they?
I've seen them, yes.
And you knew that she sold them through various furniture stores and other interior design stores around the Farmington Valley, correct?
I knew she was selling them somehow. I just don't recall how.
I didn't hear your last part.
I just don't know how she was selling
How?
them.
But you knew that you had seen her negotiating, talking about prices of rugs and stuff, right? Showing to people.
I don't recall showing to people or negotiating prices, but I was aware of her selling it. Yes.
Okay. When you got back to Fort Jefferson Crossing, is that when you realized that you didn't have the Tacoma key?
When I got back to Fort Jefferson Crossing?
Yeah, after leaving 80 Mountain Spring.
I knew I didn't have the Tacoma key.
You saw it sticking out of the door of the Tacoma as you were driving out, right?
Correct.
And Mr. Dulos and Michelle were behind you pulling out, correct?
Correct.
And you thought that Michelle took the key because it was hanging out of the door and she didn't want to leave it there, correct?
That was possible, yes.
Well, not just that's what you told the police, right?
Yeah.
And immediately when you got back to 80 Mountain Spring and saw that the key wasn't in the door, you told Mr. Dulos, right, that the key wasn't there, right?
Correct.
He immediately called Michelle, right? Correct?
No.
No.
He did not?
He asked me if I wanted to take home the Raptor.
He asked you if you wanted to keep the Raptor. You said no.
Yes.
There was no pushback, right?
Yeah, I can say that.
That there was no pushback, and you said you wanted your Raptor, you wanted your Tacoma. He then called Michelle, right?
Correct.
And she came back within less than 10 minutes. Isn't that true?
True.
We watched the video of her coming back. Isn't that right?
Oh my gosh.
And I wrote down the time. It was like 7 minutes till she got back, right? Right?
Correct.
You took the keys, right?
Yes.
Were you able to start your Tacoma this time, or did you have to do that thing with the...
I was able to start.
You were able to start it. And now you drove up to 585, right?
Correct.
Where was this 2x10 at this point?
It was at 585, sitting on the side of the house.
So when you left 80 Mountain Spring earlier, you drove back up to 585 and unloaded the 2x10 that you had put in the Raptor earlier, correct?
Correct.
Then you drove... Well, how did you get back to Fort Jefferson Crossing?
On which point?
After you dropped off the 2x10 and left your Tacoma at 585.
I didn't drop off the 2x10 when I was leaving the Tacoma. The 2x10 was already there.
Oh, when you had the Raptor, you left it there.
Correct.
Okay. So now you drove... Where did you go from 80 Mountain Spring? When now that you had your Tacoma?
I left the Tacoma at 585.
And how did you get back to Fort Jefferson Crossing where the motorcycle was?
Dulos was following me with the Raptor.
I'm sorry, with the what?
Dulos was following me with the Raptor, I'm sorry.
So Mr. Dulos drove up to 585 with you,
He was following me with the Raptor.
and then you got out of the Tacoma and went into the Raptor,
Correct.
and then drove back to 4 Jefferson Crossing,
With him, yes.
and then you used the battery charger to jumpstart the motorcycle, right?
Correct.
And you drove it up to 585
Correct.
on the road.
Gosh, we've been over all of this. He's literally just going
And
back
I'd asked you
through
if there was
all
anything in the back of the
questions.
Tacoma. There was nothing in the back of your Tacoma other than, you said there was a bucket, right?
The bucket was inside the car, not in the back of the truck.
Oh, there was nothing in the back of the truck, right?
Other than bungee cords and straps that I used to hold down the door back.
Did you say like bungee cords?
Yes.
And there were no bags in the back of the Tacoma, right?
No.
And there were no other tools in the back of it, right?
I don't recall seeing anything, no.
And certainly there were no garbage bags.
Certainly no garbage.
By the way, when Fotis Dulos called Michelle, were you standing right there to bring back the keys?
I don't remember if I was standing right next to him or within 6 or 10 feet away from him. Like, I don't recall it.
Well, you heard him ask her to come back if she's got the keys, right? With the keys?
My understanding was that when I asked him if he has a key, he said, "Oh no, Michelle has the key. I have to call her."
All right. And you saw him call, right? Saw him either text or put his phone to his ear, right?
Possibly, yes.
He didn't say he couldn't get in touch with her, did he?
No.
And he didn't deny that she had the key, did he?
Regina Crawford, get to the
On Sunday, May
membership.
26th, you were not at work, right?
Thank you, Regina Crawford.
Correct.
And you were not at work on Monday, May 27th, because that was Memorial Day, correct?
Correct.
But Fotis Dulos called you on the weekend to tell you that Jennifer was missing, isn't that right?
Correct.
That was on that Sunday, the 26th?
I believe so, yes.
You didn't see him at all, though, that weekend until Tuesday, right?
Correct.
Had anyone else told you or asked you if you had heard what had happened about Jennifer Dulos being missing?
I believe Stefan Rich either called me or texted me earlier that Sunday.
And that's when you started searching the internet for stories about it?
I don't recall searching for stories that Sunday, but it's possible.
He's so
You didn't ask Fotis Dulos on that call on Sunday when he told you that Jennifer was missing if he had any idea where she was, did you?
I don't recall asking him, no.
You thought she had just disappeared or ran away or something, right?
An object to relevance, Judge. Well, what he thought happened or could have happened was the relevance counsel. There's already been testimony that he could not believe that Fotis Dulos was involved. So what is the relevance of this question?
His state of mind. His witness's state of mind.
Well, his state of mind is not relevant as to what he thought may have happened.
He's already been
What he testified to is he didn't believe Fotis Dulos had anything to do with it. Sustained.
You were in possession of that Tacoma from Friday afternoon until Tuesday when you went to 4 Jefferson Crossing, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to be clear, you saw nothing unusual or different about your Tacoma, correct? Over that weekend.
I didn't look. I wasn't suspicious of anything.
There was nothing unusual in it?
Jenny.
No, I didn't discover the bucket until Tuesday morning.
You saw the bucket on Tuesday morning, right?
Correct.
And let me ask you about that. You said there was a blue jacket or a sweatshirt of some sort in there, correct?
Correct.
Did you take it out of the bucket?
No.
It was kind of a light blue, wasn't it?
Correct.
It was not a dark navy blue.
No.
And that particular sweatshirt or jacket, you hadn't seen that before.
No.
By the way, you didn't see anything that looked like blood in your vehicle, did you?
No.
Or anything that one might consider a stain that might be red or brown that wasn't something that had always been in there?
And get to 5 memberships. Thank you, Ann.
Now, you testified that the morning of Tuesday, that you were there for how long before you left to go to New Canaan?
I don't remember. It could have been half hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
In any event, do you know what time you arrived?
Had to be around 8 o'clock in the morning.
Was that a moment?
He's making my eye twitch.
For much of the time that you were at the house with Michelle and Fotis on the morning of the
Be Kind Tiger, get to 10 memberships. Thank you so much.
the 27th, you had indicated that you knew what you were doing on May 24th, so you didn't need to write it down. Is that right?
I didn't say I knew what I was doing at the 24th.
You told Fotis, didn't you, that you didn't need to write down what you were doing that day, correct? For the 24th, when he asked you.
Yes.
Because you knew what you were doing, right?
I didn't remember at that day what I was doing. I remember him asking me what I was doing on Friday, and I told him I was in UK, and he asked me if there was contractors, and I told him I think so, but I'm not sure. It could have been that I was there by myself.
So we're talking about 3 days later, you didn't know whether there were any contractors there or not?
At that moment, I didn't know.
And that's because May 24th was another day, just like every other day for you, right?
Correct.
You didn't tell him that you had gone to a Chinese restaurant for lunch, did you?
No.
You didn't tell that to the police either, right?
Oh my gosh.
At some point, I did.
You told them the name of the place back then, if you remembered it?
No, object. That's not the question. The question is, did you tell the police you went to a Chinese restaurant? And now the next question is, did you tell them the name of the place?
Right.
First, the litany of questions concerning the Chinese restaurant. We'll put it this way, that ground has been plowed. So any further discussion of the Chinese restaurant is a waste of time. Sustained.
You didn't tell the police on June 2nd, 2019 that you'd gone to a Chinese restaurant for lunch, did you?
Well, the court just said any discussion again.
The court
of Chinese
just
restaurant
said.
is grounds, it's a ground that has been plowed. It's a waste of time.
He just said that. He just said that. And then his first question back is about the Chinese
So let's talk
restaurant.
about the day that you saw that your truck was all sparkly clean. You couldn't remember the exact day that was, correct?
Well, Judge, I'm going to object to the
Oh,
question.
my
He didn't
gosh.
testify that it was, quote, sparkly clean. I think it's sarcasm. I'm objecting to the form of the question.
Well,
It's not argumentative, Your Honor. It's a
It
preliminary
is.
question. It has nothing to do with the manner. I don't have to quote exactly what he said. It's not a proper objection. It's a preliminary question.
counsel is objecting to the adverb. Well, the witness can respond in the way in which the witness decides to respond, so overrule.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Whether I use the word spark. There's a chain of car washes called Mr. Sparkle, right?
Possibly, yes.
All right, but I'm just going to ask you. You noticed that your vehicle had been cleaned, right?
Yes.
You weren't sure of the date, but you believe that it was the next day after the meet-up in the kitchen on the 27th? That it would be on the Wednesday?
I believe
I'm
so.
sorry, I'm getting my dates wrong. Instead of it being Tuesday, your first day back to work, do you believe it was the next day after that?
I'm not sure. Like I stated before, ever since I gave police my phone, I couldn't recover exact timing and days of all the events.
Well, it wasn't the same day that you were in the kitchen where Fotis wanted you to write down what you did on the previous Friday, was it?
Judge, objection, asked and answered about 3 times at this point.
Your Honor, it's about the truck. I'm trying to pinpoint the date. I certainly have not asked this question.
Well, the question is, the appearance of the truck having been cleaned was not seen on the same date that Fotis Dulos asked you to write down essentially a timeline. That's the question.
Right.
So if it's been asked and answered before, the court is not going to disallow the question, so overrule.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. The day that you saw that your car had been washed was a day later, at least, than the day that you had been in the kitchen and Fotis tried to talk to you to write down what you did, right? Wasn't the same day.
I think it was either that Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon.
So if it was Tuesday afternoon, you're saying it would be the same day that you saw them and you were talking to them in the kitchen that morning, right?
Correct.
But you're not certain about that, right?
No.
And you, I think, told a joke about, what, are you going to get my car fixed too? You remember that, right?
Correct.
And you were joking back and forth about it, right?
He says no, just clean.
He's just going over everything they've already been over.
This is probably a good time to take the afternoon recess. We will reconvene, ladies and gentlemen, at 3:30. Please do not discuss this case.
Okay, this is probably a good time for us to stop today because I was planning on stopping about 1 o'clock and it's 12:52. So it's a good time for us to stop. We can do one of two things. We can finish this. We have another hour left of this day. Yeah, about another hour left of this day. We can add it on to tomorrow. My eye is literally twitching. He's got my eye twitching, and it's driving me nuts. This is how he does me. He's got my eye twitching, and it's driving me nuts. So we can do well, it's only an hour. I was going to say, I'll be back this afternoon. If y'all wanted to do a couple hours this afternoon and then the rest of tomorrow, we can, or we could just do it all tomorrow. I was planning on going, we've got day 20 to get through tomorrow. So we can finish let's do a poll real quick, because I don't mind doing another couple hours this afternoon. I don't have any plans tonight. Do you want to do another stream tonight? It'll be like mid to late afternoon, or all tomorrow. Some tonight, all tomorrow. We'll do a quick poll because I'm fine either way. I know that with tomorrow being Super Bowl, a bunch of people have plans. So I'm good with either. If we do anything tonight, we could do another couple hours tonight, and then do the rest of this hour that's left today, and then maybe part of tomorrow morning or something, and then do the rest. So I'm fine with either. It might be easier to split it a little bit. The shorter streams seem to be a little bit easier on me. Marie Moss with our stats. Okay, 1 witness, 1 sidebar, 26 objections, 49 times he said right. 49 times. And 9 waste of times. Done plowed that row. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. Oh, this judge is amazing. This defense attorney, not so much. Not so much. Not so much. Having a little bit of trouble with my patience for him. All right. So 64% of you say tonight. So we'll do another couple hours tonight. It works out pretty easy for me when I can do shorter streams right now. So I 1, 3, 2, 3, 4. So maybe like 5-ish tonight, sometime around there. And we'll just do a couple hours. And then that way we won't have quite as much to do tomorrow. We'll do the last hour from today. And then we'll do like maybe just tomorrow until it gets to the morning recess or something. And then, you know, it'll split it up a little bit more. So, sound good? We'll plan on, I don't know exactly what time, but we'll plan on about 5-ish. I have for those of you who weren't here, I have a gift card that I've had since Christmas that I have not used yet, to get a pedicure. And I am going with my friend today. We're going to go get pedicures, and I'm excited for it. So, I haven't had one. I can't remember the last time I've had one. So it'll be nice. It'll be fun. 5, my time is Central. I am Central. So, it'll be like maybe 5-ish Central, 6-ish Eastern. And then we'll just do a couple hours, and then, you know, and then the rest of it we'll do tomorrow. So, sound good? All right. I will see y'all then in a few hours. Go rest and do breathing exercises and get ready. Hopefully his cross-examination is almost done, because Lord knows that field has been plowed. So, all right, y'all. I appreciate it. I will see y'all in a few hours.
I gotta go. I can't stick around here forever.
It was wonderful. Everybody behaved. Everybody's always so nice to me.
Just love your channel.
Goodbye, good people. Now, how the heck do I get out of here?